It's week 3 of the VPL Preseason Invitational, and we are ready for another exciting day of 5v5 action. Here's a look at the standings coming into the day. Clash continues to pace the region as the only undefeated team. Team Queso also picks up a win earlier today over Salty Potatoes via forfeit, as Salty was unable to field a full roster. And then rounding out the field is Equinox Esports, Rising Lotus, and Wolves.
What does it take to mold a champion? Shape your destiny. Hone your craft. In mobile esports, it doesn't get any bigger than this. This is Vainglory, where you master powerful heroes, destroy the enemy Vain Crystal, and claim glory. 5-person teams are forged from across the globe. The best in the world begin their journey now. This season, elite teams attempt to survive a gauntlet of fierce competition from an onslaught of mobile superstars. They'll take their shots until a champion is crowned in their region. Today is where the molding begins, the preseason, where teams have the chance to establish their rhythm as a new 5-player team, try out strategies, and gel as a group in preparation for a historic run to the championship. The VPL Preseason Invitational begins now.
We cannot wait to get the games underway for week number 3, and the players are just as excited to be playing as we are excited to watch, and that's why a little bit of disappointment coming out from Tyrus earlier today.
Yeah, he was hungry to play, get on the Sovereign's Drive, prove that Queso is one step closer to taking away that top spot from Clash. They're playing tomorrow, definitely a huge matchup to look forward to. Boom! How's it going, everyone? My name is Flash X, joined by my buddy Tasty Bacon. We will be hosting today's Vainglory Preseason Invitational.
Yeah, absolutely thrilled to be getting things underway. Finally, a little bit of delay getting started, but we are ready to go now. And so we're going to be getting right into our action today. You see the matches that we do have remaining are going to be Clash and Equinox, and Wolves versus Rising Lotus for Europe. Of course, with that forfeit earlier from Salty Potatoes, Team Queso does get that victory. Then we have a great slate of games coming up for North America as well.
Bunch of fun matchups. TSM takes on Vision Gaming, Nova Esports against Slimy Salamanders, Hammers Esports taking on Rogue.
And before we get to those games, obviously, we're going to be kicking off with these European games. Clash is going to be starting us off. They have been absolutely dominant thus far through the preseason, the way that they've been playing and carrying themselves through these games.
The absolute pinnacle of Europe. Phenomenal shot calling, definitely in Europe, potentially in the world. Leon at the helm there, making the calls, knowing exactly when to engage, diving straight into an enemy base, not hesitating at all whatsoever. Definitely excited for them to get into that here in a few minutes.
Yeah, going to see if they continue to keep this momentum up. Now they've played almost everyone in Europe. You know, this is one of those matchups that could be one that you look past a little bit and make that mistake of looking past it and end up, you know, making some big mistakes during the game as well. So hopefully they continue to focus and treat each team like they are the same, and don't try and go too far ahead of themselves. But when we do talk about Clash, I think it's pretty unanimous that they're probably going to be the #1 team for most people. We wanted to get Joe Fenny Munchables, of course. He's going to be joining us at some point once he's done visiting the sites out on the Vegas Strip. He likes to keep heading back out there, but eventually he will get here in the studio. But he put together a power ranking for us. And of course, there's his top 3, Clash, Queso, and Salty Potatoes.
No surprises there. Definitely deserving Clash at the #1 spot for taking down Queso. Very excited for that matchup tomorrow. It's going to be huge. Salty Potatoes coming in at #3, unfortunately had to forfeit here today. They were not able to field an entire roster. It happens from time to time. Sometimes we have things come up in our lives that we just can't help. But yeah, they'll be looking for redemption as well. Yeah, and coming into this week, obviously that would have been the power rankings anyway. We may have had a little bit of a shake-up there if we had that first game. If Salty Potatoes had played and gotten a victory over the side of Queso, maybe those power rankings get shaken up. But I think
I don't think anyone really would argue with that being the 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 4, and 5, maybe a little bit of discussion there, but then it's fairly straightforward in Europe right now as to like where each team lies in the power rankings.
Absolutely. All of these teams looking forward to making sure they are developing and moving on as this season goes. We are still in the preseason, so they're definitely still making sure that they're finding their footing.
Yeah, and one thing that could heavily influence where teams end up standing is Malene finally going to be coming on to Sovereign's Rise in professional play. This is the first weekend that she's going to be eligible for players to pick up.
We are on update 3.2 now. Malene, the first hero with 5 abilities. SCMC continue to elevate that skill ceiling for all these players, and especially in the hands of these pro players who are naturally gifted with the highest mechanics possible. She is going to be absolutely crazy how strong she is. I personally would be surprised if we saw her make it through the draft and someone actually picks her up.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get to see her, but like you mentioned, she is one of the most complex characters in Vainglory, and she can be yours for free. All you have to do is participate on Twitter using the hashtag VPL and either hashtag Lightform or hashtag Shadowform for your chance to unlock Malene for free. We will announce a winner at the end of the show, but remember, Malene is currently available in-game right now. If you want to go play as Malene, you can head on into the app, go into the store, pick her up. Definitely worth the pickup.
Absolutely. All these players, I'm sure all the players themselves, I know that a lot of teams letting her go through scrims so that they can get a feel for her. We're going to have to go ahead and see if she gets picked up in the draft.
Yeah, well, we're going to be able to find out if she gets picked up right now as we are heading into our first draft of the day. It is going to be Clash and Equinox, and right away we do end up seeing the Malene get banned. It makes sense that if you're A side, you're not going to ban her A side, force your opponents to have to make the ban, or give yourself the option to first pick it. But obviously Equinox not wanting to deal with that right away.
Absolutely. On this 3.2 update, the meta's a little bit different. Malene obviously shakes up the mix quite a bit. Clash not wanting to have to deal with the Cruel, still sticking to the traditional first pick Lyra that's so classic out of the Europe region.
Yeah, Kestrel going to be grabbed by Equinox right away, though. Kestrel's one of these heroes I think we're going to start seeing more and more as teams, kind of reacclimate themselves with how much burst damage she does up front and early in games. She can control a lane right off the bat. Alpha's going to get grabbed here too. That's a little bit surprising to me because Alpha received one of the heavier nerfs of all the heroes on update 3.2.
Absolutely. Alpha still super tanky, great frontline for Kestrel. Kestrel also getting nerfed just a little bit in update 3.2. Definitely going to be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. Clash looking to pick up the Batiste though.
Yeah, Batiste obviously has been very strong throughout this preseason. We've seen a lot of teams running it very effectively, especially with the weapon power Batiste build. I'm still waiting for that Crystal Batiste. I still want to see those huge bad mojos, but obviously the weapon Batiste is just super effective in the terms of team compositions.
Absolutely, and Equinox trying to make sure the Kestrel on their backline stays safe. Banning away that Reza, definitely one of the best dive heroes we saw in 3.1. Still very, very strong in 3.2 as well. Clash also taking the talk out of the equation, which I think is definitely favorable for the side of Equinox.
Yeah, and I mean, coming into the rest of this draft, we talked about some of the 3.2 changes, how some of the heroes have been nerfed and changed. This is going to be a little bit interesting to see where teams continue to put priority. Will things shift away from the Alpha? Obviously, Celeste is still incredibly powerful. Maybe not for long if Nivmet saying that Celeste is going to get what's coming to her at some point. But for right now, she is still the premier mid laner.
Absolutely. Clash answering with the Varya and the Idris, both still super strong heroes. They synergize really well with that Lyra. They can kind of poke from a distance with those Stormforged spears out of Varya in the backline. Idris obviously throwing out those chakrams. I still fully expect it to be a Crystal Power Idris here again, but we'll see. Weapon power definitely viable as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume it would be a Crystal Power because you have the Batiste who's likely to go run weapon power, and then you just round out the composition with another weapon power hero. Blackfeather coming through, I think that's mostly being picked up just to try and combat the Batiste and the Idris a little bit, being able to follow them around, use his mobility to kind of counter their mobility and crowd control that's already available on the side of Clash. So I'm liking the pickups that they have. They are going to need a captain, but there's plenty of options available. They could go for a Captain Fortress, Captain Tony. You know, they have, well, Tony just got banned, so that's not an option anymore. But, you know, Arden's still available. Grace, we've seen plenty of teams running. So I like this idea where they save that captain for the last pick when it's not being targeted in the draft.
Absolutely. If you can't get your hands on one of those top tier captain picks, all the other options are interchangeable, just depending on how you want to go about utilizing it. So I really like that they have saved it for this very last pick here. Clash rounding out their composition with a Vox, assumingly that's going to be in the safe lane. And Equinox opting for that Arden. Definitely a great pickup for making sure you keep those carries safe for whenever they need to kite back.
Not only that, you know, usually the Vanguard's going to be used to save someone, but you can also use it aggressively early on in a fight. Use it on the Alpha, use it on the Black Feather to charge into a team fight and just get that little bit of extra movement speed to get in and out. So there's a lot of versatility with this Arden pick. It's, you know, I've said it before and I'll continue saying it until there's drastic changes. He will be one of my favorite captains on 5v5 just because of the versatility.
Absolutely, couldn't agree with you. Definitely looking forward to see how these compositions play out. I think we're probably ready to take a look at a player to watch. On the side of Clash, definitely going to be looking at I'm the Doom. He has been phenomenal in terms of his mechanics up until this point, just positioning so well. As you can see in the back of these team fights, understanding exactly when he needs to go in and when he can get off all the damage that his team needs him to.
Yeah, and for, you know, Equinox, there's not really necessarily any one player that I think we need to focus on for them. It's a team for them. Like their execution as a team just needs to improve if they're going to be able to even, I mean, I don't even think you're really looking to beat Clash if you're Equinox right now. Obviously, you know, you want to, but for a squad like Equinox, for the position they're in, if they can just survive against Clash, if they can just have a strong showing against Clash, I think that would be considered a win for where they're currently at.
Absolutely. I've spoken to Leon throughout the week, couple different times. He is the sole shot caller for Clash. Equinox definitely needs to find the same voice, keep everyone on the same page at all times, and making sure they're executing these objectives just how these top European teams are if they want to be successful going into the regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, this is what the preseason is for, you know, figuring out where you stand, trying to get things underway. But we're going to take a look at some hero stats across all of VPL. We have had 32 heroes out of the 38 that are available chosen in game. Europe has, of course, used 26, sorry, while North America has used 27. So very interesting to see that a lot of different variety being used in both regions. And of course, Celeste, Samuel, Tony, no surprise that they are the most popular, but we are about ready to get on into game for our first matchup of the day. Gonna send it over to Humanist and Dowsy.
Well, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, our first matchup of the day. And ready to get this going. Clash versus Equinox. I'm Humanist here with Dowsy. Dowsy, you had a lot to say about these teams leading up to this match.
Yeah, for sure. Clash has just been an unstoppable force in Europe so far, and it's really great to see how they're taking the macro game of 5v5 and continuing to make it work. Some big changes, though, in 3.2 to the way the game starts. You see that everyone's in lane already. That's because minions are arriving far quicker, much faster in the early game. They spawn 10 seconds earlier as well, and so Clash's way of getting early leads through invading into the jungle early game has kind of been taken away from them. I'm really interested to see how they adapt their game style due to that.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I like to see how it's gotten shaken up a little bit. And it kind of got off like into the standoffy kind of zone with a lot of different teams, and people were trying to switch it up, but I think this feels a little bit better.
Yeah, so you can see right now, everyone's gone to lane, pushed their first wave, but now here comes that invade out of Clash.
The invade out of Clash, and a lot of damage piling up. Jiraxis, good chance he's going to go down here, and that's actually going to go over to the Varia. A great first blood start for Clash.
Yeah, that's just, I'm the Doom. His ability to roam from the mid lane has been such a huge point for Clash. Of course, like the desk was saying earlier, Clash shot calling through Leon, but I'm the Doom's map presence has just been probably the highest. And actually, when you look at this, it's Leon in the mid lane and I'm the Doom on captain here. So Clash mixing things up role-wise, and we'll have to see how that plays out.
Do you think these guys are just doing a little experimenting, or something else going on here?
I really don't know. We'll have to see how this this kind of plays out over time. I'm the Doom, very talented mid laner, but you know, Leon and I'm the Doom have been playing on competitive teams for feels like years now, and they've always had that ability to switch roles. Of course, I'm the Doom used to be that jungle player. If he needed to play carry, then he would. Last year, I'm the Doom made a big push as far as his personal strengths into captain role, just really trying to solidify his position if he ever needed to go captain in solo queue or whatever. And so to see him playing it competitively today is a big surprise, and I wonder if that's to do with Leon wanting to kind of shot call from the mid lane rather than from the captain position, or if they just feel like in this certain matchup today, they can kind of experiment with it against Equinox, who may arguably be a less strong opponent.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense when you kind of break it down that way. In the meantime, though, this is kind of a slow early game besides that first blood. We're 3 minutes in, and this is just kind of a soft battle over taking away the camps that you can. Carl and Net have done a good job to invade the bottom half of the map there, get a little bit of that jungle. I think they got the back experience camps and then the healing camp as well.
Yeah, no, they've really just been looking to try and pressure a lot. You see this a lot from the top European teams, pressuring from that bot lane, the jungler really pairing with it. Leon and I'm the Doom having a bit of a skirmish outside lane.
Yeah, Leon able to avoid the stun there, jumping in. Trading a lot of damage, he's got that healing flask, he's going to be just all right. And with his positioning, able to get the crystal tree in here, so it looks like they've got the timings down in their head pretty well.
Yeah, Draxus so will steal that crystal tree on the other side, so making sure to try and keep things even, at least for Equinox. If they lose one in their jungle, then they at least get it onto someone else, and that will be the top lane. Disown will run into Draxus and Safantu. We'll have to see how that plays out. You can see the massive damage that comes out of 5 crystal bits, which is very much meta for Crystal Power Idris. What the chakram just tears through.
Oh, it's about to be some kills in this meta right here. Draxus blown up, trading some pretty good damage, but going down, putting Clash up 2-0. Now, Alex looking to steal that gold. Oh, look, it's not going to go his way. Alex forced back here. Once again, Clash taking a lot up in the top side of this map and doing it as a unit.
Yeah, and this is something that Clash just continues to do in Europe, is play that group meta. Grouping up as 4, grouping up as 5, putting the pressure into the jungle or the lane. Disowned, getting that crystal buff off of Draxus, now has a weapon power buff for himself as well. And as a crystal power Idris, those ranged auto attacks dealing so much damage are going to be so hard for Draxus and Safantu to deal with, so they can continue playing around the roam game, trying to steal camps away from Safantu and really just make a big dent in the gold as far as Equinox is concerned. So really just a pressure game, and as Disown snowballs harder and harder, it just puts Equinox further behind.
Net stunned up, jumped on, he's got the healing flask, but will go down. That's going to be going over to Jang on the Black Feather. Equinox able to get on the board.
Yeah, really nice stuff from them, finding a weakness in the roster for Clash. If I'm the Doom is up top, that means that Nettelet is going to be worse for wear, but continuingly to dominate this top lane, Disowned is on this Crystal Power Idris, and he's going to be able to push this lane in and pretty much put a huge dent into the turret if he wants to. Stefantu's pressure has basically been nil because he's had to camp the top side just to stop this turret from going down early.
Yeah, that's really not where you want to be as the alpha, playing kind of that backup babysitter role almost, and they're taking away the camps every single time he goes to trade out on that healing camp. Now Alex moving in here, taking a lot of damage to self Vanguard. He's trying to get back though. He'll be okay as they're able to take that damage up, look to turn it around, but Clash still pretty tanky at this point, and it's not going to be a problem for them.
Yeah, that Vario ult coming through from Leon just says to Equinox, you're not fighting us here. We've done the damage, we've done the work, and now we can do whatever we want. And like you mentioned, with Stefantu up in the top side, continually, oh my gosh, Alex S. Oh dear, Disown just takes him out in a 1v3 by himself, which just shows the power that Disown has right now. But as Stefantu has had to essentially camp the top side, Carl's just been able to take whatever he wants in that bottom side jungle. He's had essentially 3/4 of the jungle to himself, his top side, his bot side, and Stefantu's bot side as well. And it's just continuingly to build up this huge gold lead over Equinox, which they can't deal with. We're going to Ghostwing being taken down by Clash right now. Some great changes coming through to Ghostwing. 25% extra damage now to your structural damage. And you'll have to see how Clash decides to use this, because we know they like to group up as 4 or 5 very early on and just push turrets. Now they have an extra element to that buff. They're going to take these turrets very quickly, and Equinox just going to feed it to him. Look how quick that bottom turret goes down.
It's like they had 3 saws on their team. They just shoved that down. They're going to be looking for another one. Bit of action here in mid, as well as Luga and Alex trying to get something done. But I'm the Doom really just holds the lane. They're going to be able to get kill in bottom, taking Black Feather, and then just mowing through the T2 turret. Do they go for 3? I mean, Clash in full control.
They can't, there's nothing Equinox can do. They've not respected this new Ghost Wing power, and it's such a huge buff. 90 seconds of just pure, true damage pretty much to turrets, and they're going to take 3 turrets in one push and start damaging this armory.
Wow, this is the dream. A jump in with the Prime Directive, but he's going to think twice. Does have the ultimate ready to go. Bulwark's down. Can they turn this around? Clash able to get one. Leon starting this off. It's traded 1 for 1. In the Infinite Reboot, and a double kill comes on through for the Varya. The continuation of the fight. Vox gets one for himself. Turrets down. They're on to the armory. Clash, we're 8 minutes into this game. Showing us how to play 3.2.
8-minute armory is crazy. When I saw these changes come through and just knowing the dominance that EU has had so far in their macro game.
Leon jumped back in to get both the buffs. Are they going to turn it around? They turn it around. They take the Kestrel down. They're looking for Alex. Alex can't. He's not long for this world. They take the Black Feather before they're playing with their food at this point. Leon making the god plays. Is he going to stand around for this one? Leon, you made a bit off more than you could chew at this point. He dips back the other way. Savantu will be able to get that kill, but Clash 10-5, 8.5 minutes in.
Yeah, and they take 3 turrets in armory at 8 minutes. Discern takes 2 turrets in the top lane. Clash don't care about the fact that they went down in that fight there. They've already pretty much just broken the backs of Equinox. There's no coming back. Discern likely to lose his life, but it really just doesn't matter.
Out. Is Discern? He dodges the one-shot, 1 kill to Zone. A god of an Idris trying to trade, and he's not going to be able to do it. He will go down, but as you said, taking 2 turrets for his trouble.
Right, exactly. This is huge. Already a 8,000 gold lead for Clash. That Ghost Wing change is just scary. EU already. Team Queso Clash have been dominating games, getting those pre-15-minute wins. And now we have a Ghost Wing buff that's going to allow them to snowball harder. We've got Black Claw spawning at 12 minutes rather than 15 minutes, which means that these teams can actually now take a Black Claw because they've not been, you know, in a game long enough that Black Claw would spawn. I'm genuinely scared for the European opponents of Clash and Team Queso, because right now they've just been gifted even more power due to their early macro ability in this game.
I mean, it's a really scary place to be right now. Anvil's Hammer's going to come on through the jump forward. Black Feather just got deleted there. A little bit of the bad mojo just popping him on down. Now, Carl's in a bad place here. Carl tries to stand his ground with the read. He stays alive. The fearsome Shade turns it around. He'll go down now. Svantu, you got to get back. Actually, he's going to jump on in. Termination Protocol spreading the damage out here. This one's back and forth. Dowsey 2 for 2, but now Leon playing the cleanup. Cleanup on aisle 3. Leon, he'll take a couple more. That's going to be Clash up 16-8 with 11K net worth lead in 10 minutes.
That's insane, Humanist. Just half a second off getting the ace there. Jang did respawn in time, but now Clash can go straight back to this Ghost Wing, take it. Their teammates spawning a rush down. The armory already starting to hurt the push in the bot lane due to the fact the minions are starting to reach that Vein Crystal. And it's not long for this world, Equinox. They know that this is almost the needle that's going to break their back here. Clash, all they have to do is get one more team fight win with this Ghost Wing buff active, and they finish the game.
This is, why so fear? So fear because it's just inserting the portal in. A lot of aggressive damage to go ahead and reposition. Solar Storm comes on through. Negligible damage at this point. And Equinox, you're going to have to play some fabulous games here in the next minute or so if you're going to stay alive. It feels like Clash could just end this game. Maybe they want to just wait for a Black Claw. Maybe they're just playing around a little bit here. Now Gauntlet's going to come down. It's going to stun up Leon, but chase forward. Actually, no, it's Doom caught out. Doom taken down. Equinox, that's a pretty big kill. Termination Protocol forced out. You can't really get into position, but they can't trade the damage either.
Oh, that's Chakram.
Jump in. Leon just splashing the damage on through. Fearsome Shade shoving Equinox back the other way. Can they chase him on down? Netlet's in a great place. Carl as well. And he just pops another target. Spontu can't really do anything. He's caught out. Another kill comes on through. And this should be Clash looking to end this game.
Yeah, you see Leon and Netlet jumping over the wall. They've got that extra damage to the Vein Crystal. They're going to start chunking it down. Luga's spawning in 2 seconds. Jang in 2 as well. Maybe they can try and stop this up right now. But at the moment, it's just devastation for Equinox. Here comes Carl to help out. Disowned as well, Humanist. This looks like the end.
It looks like the end, unless there's some serious throws. Leon dancing in, back out, throwing that Stormforge Spear from range. Sfontu's back up, doesn't have ultimate. Carl jumped on, has the healing flask, has the read, taking a lot of damage. The flask, or the block at the last minute keeps him alive, but they're able to take him down, but not before I'm the Doom and Leon can just trade some kills back the other way. Free from Clash really just living in the base of Equinox at this point. The jump forward, Prime Directive, Sfontu! Signs of life, Dowsy!
Yeah, no, this is quite a messy game really from Clash, which is potential. The role swap coming out of I'm the Doom and Leon, it seems like there's some you know, maybe not quite knowing where they should be at what times. I'm the Doom getting caught out early in that fight, which was just unnecessary. A big split coming out of Clash as well to start off their fight. But due to the just huge gold lead that Clash has over Equinox, a 45 wasn't an issue for them, even without their captain to help on out. Clash really just need to group up, way down that Ghost Wing. Leon just wants a 1v3 though.
On 3 versus 1, literally taking no damage and bursting down all 3 other heroes. Now, Anvil's hammer's out. They're just clipping a couple here, and I think he's just kind of throwing it because he can. Also, it forces them back on this push, allowing good positioning. He's going to jump forward one more time. A little harass damage, just a slow siege.
Yeah, this armory will go down, but Equinox know they need to fight now, and this is their chance.
This is the chance, but the gauntlet has been thrown. Can they follow up? As Sfontu down in the ultimate, he'll be taken down before he can reboot. Leon shredding on through Equinox. Luga, you're going the wrong way. Maybe that's the only way he could go to actually live, but by the time he ports back, this should be a dead Vein Crystals. Clash putting on a clinic here in our first EU matchup of the day. 14 minutes in, doing the damage it felt like would have been done at 21.
Yeah, absolutely. Clash, whilst taking the win there, slightly messy compared to their previous wins here in Europe, but you can just see that they are unstoppable in that early game. The way they rotate into the jungle and really create openings in their game is incredible, and EU needs to learn. Tomorrow, we do have that Team Queso versus Clash matchup, Humus, which is going to be so fun to watch, see if Queso can take one back over Clash. But for now, Clash just seem to be unstoppable, and with these 3.2 changes coming through to the early game dominance that these teams can have, it's a scary time to be playing in EU.
Scary time indeed. Well, that was fun to cast. Let's see what Flash Bacon have to say about this one over at the desk.
Wow, that was something else. I mean, that may have been the most deaths that Clash has suffered in a game, but they still finish it in 14 minutes. Absolutely dominant performance from this team that has been absolutely dominant.
Leon stepping up to the carry plate, flexing his mechanical might, looking super clean. This is definitely a huge change in update 3.2. You guys missed some of the turrets going down. That bot lane had all 3 of its turrets. Clash took Ghostwing, charged straight through the lane, opened up the entire game, and after they picked up some kills, it's straight onto the armory.
And look at the time, it's not even 8 minutes into this game, and they're taking down an armory. Absolutely incredible stuff from them. This is that decision making that we've been praising Clash for all along, and now with these changes, they're able to just execute even quicker than they had been in prior weeks.
Absolutely. Huge shout out to Carl for just going for the Ghost Wing. He was the only one there. Weapon Power Batiste, once he has that poison shift, he can just do it. He doesn't need help from any of his teammates there, allowing Clash to set up around the other parts of the map, making sure all the lanes are pushed in so that after they have the buff, it's just go time.
Yeah, and in case you're wondering why we're talking about, the getting Ghost Wing and then immediately pushing turrets, that was one of the changes in Update 3.2. There are a couple other things that are different now on 3.2. First of all, the lane minions spawn a bit earlier. We heard our casters talking about that. You're no longer going to be having necessarily the fights over those crystal orbs every single game. Ghost Wing, the buff has been improved. You now get 25% damage to structures while you have that Ghost Wing buff. And of course, Black Claw also spawning onto Sovereign's Rise a few minutes earlier, spawning at 12 minutes now instead of 15.
This is just another great example of how Clash is in these team fights, how organized they are, making sure that they're always on the same page. I actually fully expected with the minion wave in their base for them to just go straight into it and end it. Unfortunately, the execution a little sloppy here. I think that they decided to have a little bit of fun, maybe farm up some extra kills, and weren't able to close it out. But it was a blast watching just how clean their gameplay has been.
Yeah, I mean, when they decide to actually go for the finishes, their gameplay is very clean. Like you said, a little bit sloppy there, but it definitely looked like they were just having a bit of fun with it. They knew that they were completely in control of that game. I mean, 11,000 gold lead at 10 minutes. More than 1,000 gold a minute. More than what their opponents were able to earn. Clash just looking easily like the best team in Europe.
Absolutely. I definitely look forward. Again, huge matchup tomorrow. Clash versus Queso. Battle for basically top of the power rankings. Queso going to be looking for some redemption there, but we definitely have another exciting matchup in Europe coming up very shortly.
Yeah, this one's going to be Wolves and Rising Lotus going head-to-head. Of course, Wolves still looking for their first win on the preseason, unfortunately for them. But we do have Rising Lotus, who is looking to build up a little bit of momentum now. They got a win last week, got themselves on the board. Now going to look to try and continue that on against Wolves and maybe build something out of this.
They're finding some of their footing, studying what some of these top EU teams are doing. They have a chance. They have the mechanics. These are the European most picked heroes. Celeste, no surprise at the top. Tony, we actually saw falling quite a bit through the draft. I think it was the third ban coming out in the third ban phase here today, so he may have fallen off a little bit in this meta. And then Alpha also still, even despite all the nerfs that Alpha got in update 3.2, he still was a huge priority for Equinox in this draft.
Yeah, but maybe that ends up being one of the problems. You never know. I do think the Alpha is going to drop a little bit from being the most picked. Celeste is still absolutely going to be one of those top picks, but you see, we talked about Rising Lotus and the momentum they're going to try and build. You see, they're only using one of those most picked heroes there with that Tony, but they were able to make plays happen against Equinox.
So great with the taunts out of Tony, making sure they're catching the enemy team out of position every time, executing these objectives so well every time. There's been noticeable improvement from week 1 to week 3.
Yeah, and we'll see if they, what kind of changes they do make to the draft. Now that we're on update 3.2, we're going to get a look right now as we jump into our draft for Wolves versus Rising Lotus. Right off the bat, Lyra is going to be the ban again, expecting Maleen to be the B-side ban. But we'll see if Rising Lotus are going to do that or if they let Wolves have a go at it.
Absolutely. I expect Maleen, yeah, coming off the table. EU says, no, we're not messing around with it. She's too strong right now. In a best-of-1 series, there's not a lot of opportunity to explore some of these different options. You only get one chance to get the W, and if you give up Maleen and you lose, that's definitely... I'm sure a lot of these teams would want to have that back if that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kroll will be the first pick for Wolves. One of these heroes that we've seen banned an awful lot throughout the early weeks of the preseason. Rising Lotus, they're going to grab the Samuel. Do they actually go for a Celeste now as well? This has been one of the more popular picks, but we just saw last week they didn't run the Celeste, and they are actually going to go for the Churnwalker instead. So Celeste now an option for Wolves.
Definitely an interesting pickup so early on into the draft. Obviously, there's a ton of synergy out of Churnwalker and Samuel. You chain up a bunch of enemies. Samuel drops his Drifting Dark. The Malice and Verdict just go in, and the splash damage on top of the chain damage. Very hard for a lot of these teams to have to deal with. Wolves wanting to pick up Scarf and hopefully play a little bit of the range game, stay out of range of those chains.
I'm just surprised that Samuel and Scarf, both generally mid laners, are we going to just not have a Celeste picked here? I mean, I would expect if it's still available after this next rotation, one of these teams would likely grab it and just flex either Scarf or Samuel, depending on which one gets it, into likely the top lane is where I would expect it. But you never know. I mean, we could very well see a no Celeste draft, which I would be shocked if that goes through.
Reza, Tony coming off the board. Looks like Celeste might be going through. I mean, if these teams want to stack the mages, if they want to play the range game, they definitely can. Reza is off the table, so if you do want to go for that double mage composition, much safer. Exactly what Rising Lotus is going to go for. Tony off the board as well. So Wolves not going to be having those tier 1 captains. They're going to be having to look for something else. I mean, Rising Lotus obviously going with the Churnwalker. Definitely something that's going to synergize super well with Samuel and Celeste, but it's on Wolves now to figure out what they want to do.
I mean, you say that Wolves aren't going to have one of those tier 1 captains. They banned away the 2 most frequent captain picks, so it's kind of, they've done it to themselves. I feel like they're probably just going to be comfortable with the Arden pick anyway, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. I do want to see them grab a Vox. We'll actually touch on that a little bit more after this draft, but would really like to see Wolves go ahead and grab themselves a Vox either now or with their final pick, just because it's something that they are comfortable and they are going to grab.
There you go. Definitely a great pick here on the Sovereign's Rise currently. We haven't seen any Crystal Power Vox just yet. Weapon Power has been the dominating form and has looked very strong in the right situation as long as these players know exactly when to go in and when to execute.
Rona is going to be the answer for the side of Rising Lotus. A little bit interesting that they picked the Rona into a Krull and a Vox. I feel like both of those 2 heroes can usually do pretty well against a Rona, but you know, obviously Rona is still very strong. If you get yourself an early lead, there's not much you can do against her no matter who you're playing.
Absolutely. I don't really care for the Rona pick. She's still a great frontline, jumping in and then just dropping the red mist on top of them. It does do a lot of damage, but yeah, Vox super good at kiting out the Rona. Krull, those weakness stacks, once they puts those on top of her, her damage output goes way down. Wolves gonna be banning out the Gwen. Rising Lotus still needing probably what's gonna be their top lane pick, I would assume. I kind of expect either Samuel or Celeste to go out of the jungle, but I've also seen a lot of Samuel up in the top lane.
Yeah, I would also, you know, Rona could also go up into the top lane as well, so they could very well look for a jungler or a bottom lane hero. I would expect, you know, maybe something like the Ringo or, you know, the Gwen. I think being banned is very smart by Wolves because that could have very well been the final pick for the side of Rising Lotus. So I like the decision being made there in the draft for Wolves. Now they get to round out their composition. You expect a crystal carry of some kind, you know, maybe someone who's really aggressive. They don't have a ton of early game pressure, so you know, I would want to say Akashka, but with Krull already there, I don't think that's going to be the case. Maybe an Idris could come through for that CP pressure that you can apply, but that's again a little bit later in the game.
Yeah, with these 3.2 damage updates, the early game is so important. Alpha does do decently well in the early game. Unfortunately, she is suffering some huge nerfs in update 3.2. But yeah, if you go behind in the early game, Black Claw is spawning 2 minutes sooner. Ghost Wing is having you do so much more damage to structures. We saw Clash in the last game just charge straight through that bottom lane. Just if you get an armory at 8-9 minutes into the game, that is so hard for any team to try and deal with. So that's definitely going to be something that Wolves has to keep an eye on.
Yeah, those defensive rotations. I'm going to be talking about this a whole lot as we go through the rest of the preseason, especially with this now, the earlier timings of these pushes. But the defensive rotations you make to counteract those 5-man pushes are critical. I need to see teams start stepping up their game when it comes to the defensive efforts, because they have not been doing it. That's one of the reasons Clash is so successful, is that, you know, when they group up like that, the other teams just are not responding very well.
Definitely agree with you. Staying on the same page is going to be super important. For the side of Rising Lotus, we are taking a look at Tentacion. He has played really well here in the first 2 weeks. Definitely looking to make sure he continues that here today, and he's definitely been a core component to this Rising Lotus roster.
Yeah, he's definitely been a player that's stepped up a lot for them over these first couple of weeks. Over on the other side, kind of on the opposite page, as we're going to actually get a look at Tentacion here. It's like you said, he's been stepping up. He's been performing pretty well. It's been very aggressive in their games that they've done well. So I feel like a lot of it is they kind of come and go as he performs.
Definitely a tough matchup for any Taka there going against an Alpha. He is making sure that he is diving into these backlines, taking out the squishy carries, executing exactly how he needs to. Not going to be on Taka here today. Definitely his most played hero, Samuel, Blackfeather, Kestrel, so we might indeed see Samuel up in that top lane.
Yeah, very well could. Or it could be the Black Feather. They did, and the Rona. You know, it could be any of those. They have a lot of flexibility with their draft. Over on the other side of the Rise, though, going to be keeping my eyes on Kigaza. This is a player that, you know, we talked about the Vox pick in the draft. This has been by far his best hero that he has played. You go back to any of these other games, he was 3-14-3 combined KDA on every other hero, with Vox 3-2-7. So, Kigaza, I want to see him step up in general, but Vox has been by far his best pick of the preseason though thus far. So I really like the fact that they grabbed that pick for him. Assuming it goes to him, I really hope it does end up on him. But we'll get to see who's going to be playing what in just a moment as we head on to Sovereign's Rise with Humanist and Dowsy.
Well, that's right. Thank you very much. And our second matchup of the day, Wolves versus Rising Lotus. I'm Humanist here with Dowsy, and that's our first blood within the first minute. Could actually go the other way, but Dowsy, these teams starting off hot.
Yeah, this is Wolves' chance to potentially come back into the VPL Preseason Invitational. They've had a really rough start to the season, 0-4 so far. Rising Lotus managed to get their first win last week on Sunday, and right now they're going to try and put the pressure on as they roam into the jungle to steal the Crystal Treant.
And on the other side, there's actually a battle over that Crystal Treant going the way of Rising Lotus. So interesting kind of invades on both sides. Slightly different balance, though.
Yeah, no, right now, Rising Lotus putting a little bit more effort into trying to steal it away from under the noses. You can see Wolves just not actually wanting to fight over it. They're just reacting to the invade coming in. But Nomad here in a bit of trouble.
Nomad, that's what you get for being a clown. Clowning around back there. Second kill will go the way of the Wolves, and they got to be happy about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was a really nice start for Wolves here. Getting that early lead is great for them. Paprika kind of caught between a rock and a hard place as he roams around the jungle. He'll go down.
Paprika playing a little too spicy, and that's going to go the way of the Black Feather. That's Keanu's first kill of the game. I thought it was second, but that's retarded.
Don't worry about it, Humanist. It's fine. So 2-1 so far. 2 minutes into this game, and some invades coming out. A couple of invades coming out from both these teams. Wolves, fairly half decent early game against all opponents. Humanist, they kind of have a set play that they like to make, and they're decent at kind of keeping up in the gold with whatever their opponents put out. It's when this game kind of scales on and goes further is when Wolves start to lose their place a little bit. So I'm really interested to see what kind of work they're putting in to try and make sure they keep up with the action, keep the gold coming to them rather than their opponents. Rising Lotus is a great team to really try and find their footing against here in EU. So if they're going to have a chance, they have to do it now.
Oh, Nomad! Getting taken. I mean, what are you actually doing there, bud? That's all able taking down the Chrysaor. Chrysaor healing flash stays on Krax. He's gonna get himself a kill as well. Wolves tearing their opponents apart here. This is tough stuff.
Yeah, no, this is very tough stuff. Rising Lotus are definitely losing on the lane front so far. Both the mid lane and the bot lane is not going well for them. And we'll have to see how they really react to this. Wolves are really pressuring as hard as they can. Rising Lotus essentially going into the top side jungle, stealing away the gold there, but Wolves basically just responds by doing the exact same thing, making sure that they're not losing out any gold on any front. But this is where, as we start to reach that 4-minute mark, that I really want to see this macro game that Wolves need to improve on, because those turrets start to lose their defenses, that early game buff that they get. And if Wolves are able to group up and start taking those early and make sure Rising Lotus can't respond in any way, then they're still going to start growing gold, which will just help them get that Ghost Wing quicker. And once they get that Ghost Wing, that's when they can really start scaling.
Start scaling, just snowballing all over you. I mean, the Rising Lotus here, you're going to feel like they're getting snowballed on if that's the case. Viewers are going to feel like they're getting snowballed on right now. Bit of a fight over this Crystal Treant. Stun's gonna come on through, and I think Krax able to grab that. That was a nice play. The pull back though, Nomad Vagabond setting it up so Krax can knock him down. So let's do it over the wall onto Chrysaor. He's able to get that one, and it looks like they're actually gonna get 3 kills off the back of this one. Rising Lotus now tied up 4-4.
Great collapse coming out of Rising Lotus there, just really recognizing that Wolves had been playing a little bit carelessly in their rotations, and because of the fact that Churnwalker amplifies that damage and really turns AoE heroes into even more of a threat, able to really make some plays. Nomad Vagabond really loves that Churnwalker or Clownwalker, whatever you want to call it today, Humanist. And so to be able to pick it up here in this game and just provide so much threat across the board, it's really going to be great for Rising Lotus. We do see that Nomad is actually disconnected right now, but Asteroid being a good sport, it's not going to attack him whatsoever. Unfortunately, the minions will, and so I guess Asteroid's going to just clear this one a little bit up quicker. You don't want a player blocking up a minion wave, and so that will be Nomad sent back to the Sanctuary.
Doing positive intent. You know, that's what I'm talking about right here. Rising Lotus, they're gonna go ahead and get in the jungle in the meantime, take a little bit away there. So constant aggression back and forth. And speaking of aggression, Kigaza down here, he's gonna get boosted by the Vanguard, but rooted in place. Temptation trying to kite back, able to get both camps there. That's a nice steal for him. Or take, not really a steal, it was right in their face. Healing Flask, he'll kite back under the turret. Let's see if they want to dive here. They're pretty low at this point. Malice and Vertex clipping on through. And Florishu's just going to go ahead and back on out. Really doesn't want to play games just there, but they are walking into range of Nomad Vagabond. Hook and Chains will connect onto one. Vanguard coming on forward. Rona getting a kill somewhere on the map in the meantime. Nomad Vagabond's going to get chased down. They're going to let him go. He pulls him back. A lot of threat coming on through here. Nomad Vagabond with the block at the end, able to stay alive, playing with fire.
Yeah, but speaking of fire, that's going to be Temptation taking a kill on to Kigaza there. That Vox falling to the Samuel, who got himself that weapon power buff off of the Vox, and that's just going to make his auto attacks even more scarier. Should keep him alive potentially against the Cruel, never mind. Felishu will just smite him to death. And a turret take by Rising Lotus in the top lane really brings the gold back into their favor. The scoreline says 6-6. It's been a bloody mess so far, Humanist, for both these teams, but Rising Lotus are starting to get their heals and dig them deep, and as you can see, kills going across all around the map. Wolves are starting to collapse.
I love it. There's literally just kills happening in every lane. Crack's starting to come into his own. Only level 6. We know we want to see level 8 come out on that Celeste, but he's starting to at least do some decent damage. And when he's coupled up with that Clown Walker, it's no joke. Florishu getting jumped on. Keanu Nikola able to find himself a solo kill down here in the lane. Really nice. Temptation now has made his way over. Oblivion dodged out by Kigaza, but the jump in Keanu, huge burst damage. Kigaza's going to go down. Keanu picking up 2 kills in the span of about 30 seconds there.
Yeah, and this has just been the continued story, really, for Wolves in the preseason. Is good early starts coming out of them, really strong early game, and bringing it to their opponents and rotating well, but just continued mistake over continued mistake, Humanists, just puts them further and further behind. Rising Lotus, a team that has veterans on there, but also some really good new talent coming into them. They're a development team, and they're a team that's going to get stronger as the EU continues to play. It might not be until the actual VPL starts up in June, I believe, before we see Rising Lotus become a bit more of a threat here in Europe and start taking games over Salty Potatoes and potentially even challenging Clash and Queso. But for now, against Wolves, this is a team that they can certainly beat and close out if they just continue their aggression and putting Wolves further and further behind.
Well, it's high praise for Rising Lotus, I think, deservedly so. Kigaza taking a lot of damage down in bot. He's going to go down one more time to the Samuel and Blackfeather combo as Keanu just pops out down there, able to get another kill. Solicitude doing a lot of damage in this top turret. Easily just jumps out using Into the Fray, and he's getting a lot of work down in this top lane. It's kind of weird to say down in the top lane, but level 9 to the level 6 of this alpha here.
Right, absolutely. Solicitude is doing himself well. I remember last year he really wanted to do a lot of work to his gameplay and become a threat for the 5v5 meta, and you can see he's doing a good job. In the mid lane though,
Florishu, good night, sweet prince. Chrysler is going to hang out inside of that gauntlet. Whoa, a little Solar Storm love coming on through. And that's pretty fun. Like we said, the Celeste's really starting to actually do damage at this point. Now, Rising Lotus as forward, up against the 2 here of Wolves. They're going to be taking this turret down. And taking it down pretty much with ease. They can move wherever they want on the map. But actually, you're talking about Solicitude. Look up into the top lane. He might be getting a solo kill into the Alpha. Able to reboot, but taken down anyway. Solicitude.
Yeah, Solicitude indeed. This Rona is strong. And with the Sivisteel and that Serpent's Mask is not going to find himself for anytime soon.
No.
Gaza?
You got this.
Almost finds a solo kill. Oh, the minions Nah, the flash comes out just at the last second to keep Temptation alive. Yeah, but Kikaza, he's struggling, isn't he? He's doing all right. He's farming well. He's taking turrets. You look at the farm difference between Kikaza and Temptation, and it's not a huge deficit really for Kikaza considering the pressure that has come into his lane. But now we're going to get that Ghost Wing potentially going over to Rising Lotus. It does. They're going to get some healing so they can back off. It means Wolves can't really start a fight. And now the pushing power that they have available to them, this is where Rising Lotus takes their 6,000 gold lead and turns it into 10 Humanist. If they push as a 4, there's really nothing that Wolves can do. It seems like Paprika, nope, he is with us. That's good news. There's nothing really Wolves can do unless they try to potentially push on another side of the map. Fighting Rising Lotus here would pretty much be a death trap.
Yeah, it's like the Celeste has enough damage to actually just shove these turrets down, but with the Dragon's Eye Clockwork, like, anyone that starts to take damage just makes it worse for themselves. So it's almost like just don't fight unless you're gonna kill someone. The jump in, floor shoot, taking huge damage. Oblivion puts dude to sleep. They're able to get a kill there as well. Cracks feeling good about that one. Now Wolves completely on the back foot. Wait for it will silence up 3, but no follow-up here as the Scarf just wants to hang at range, try and get some chip damage down. Rising Lotus thinking about backing up here. Cracks really hanging around, and they don't even have Solicitude with him. Solicitude up in this top lane. He's going to be on that top turret very soon, and it's like Wolves don't have enough resources. Solar Storm! Storm's on through. Cracks getting a kill. That was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, now Chrystal's going to be in trouble as Nomad sets up the kill for Cracks. Doesn't come through in the end, but Solicitude has taken down that turret, pushing towards the armory, and Wolves are split. Rising Lotus can continue this split push as Solicitude somehow... What the hell is he doing?
What is he going to get to? What? The forfeit! What?
He runs! Oh, no.
Oh, he'll
Bane
get
Crystal.
taken down. Oh, man.
I mean, if he only had a breaking point at this point, then... oh, he does. Never mind. No, he just purchased it. So, it's a bit of a shame, but, like, this is the power of a Ghost Wing buff, is that 4 players can be down in that bot side Humanist because of Solicitude's absolute dominance over Paprika. He can 1v1 anyone, 1v2, 1v4 potentially coming through later on in this game. And so Rising Lotus don't need to group up. They can make that split core. If anyone Wolves dies, then it's pretty much GG to the base because those armories will fall, and that's going to be a continued problem.
Debated, potentially. They're gonna get the block as the gauntlet comes down. A nice bait out there. Now Kikaza in position. 3-man silence coming on through. Solicitude back in this position to fight Temptation. The first one to drop. Kikaza traded here. Now spin to win. The red mist is gonna tear on through.
3.
Another double kill. This is just a complete disaster for Wolves as they get torn apart here.
The debaters become the debated here, and it is going to be Rising Lotus now pushing this mid lane down, taking down that final armory turret, or potentially just going for the armory in the top side itself. Solicitude and Kiana Nicole make short work of that one. That armory turret in the mid lane will fall as well, and Wolves are broken. Coming back into this game is pretty much impossible against a 7-1-5 Rona, who's already level 12, and Solicitude knows it.
Solicitude really doesn't care. Go ahead and back on out here. Doesn't actually have into the fray here. Can they chase him down? This would be a nice kill. How desperate are you, though? You're a Krull. You're 12 and a half minutes into the game. You got an Ard right behind you, and you just can't even get on a target like that. Prime Directive's going to miss from downtown. Doesn't have infinite reboot, but they're going to fight over the Crystal Treants anyway. Cracks kiting backwards, but hello, and floor issue. The throws have begun. Click, click, boom. Going back the other way. Wolves, they're going to get onto a Black Claw here. Dowsy.
This is very interesting, Humanist. Rising Lotus have all the tools needed to steal this Black Claw away. It is actually very risky for Wolves to be going for this because Solicitude, as a Rona with Serpent's Mask and his ultimate, can really pretty much just heal through this roster. Let's see what happens.
Oh, 2v5, he's taking a lot of damage. Black Claw's gonna be taken by Wolves. You know, you fight as a team, you run as a pack. So this is what happens here.
Yeah, no, really good stuff coming out of Wolves to punish a little bit more of overaggression coming out of the side of Rising Lotus. This Black Claw really not going to do much work. Potentially, if I was Wolves, I'd be rushing to that Ghost Wing, taking it off the map, making sure that Rising Lotus doesn't have access to the huge buff that it provides, and just let that Black Claw try and battle it down mid. But they've rotated too late here. This Ghost Wing being started up will be potentially contested by Rising Lotus if they find vision of it. Looks like they may have rotated too late. But look at what Solicitude is doing. He goes, all right, you want to take my Ghost Wing? I'll take your Armory down. No problem, I'm Rona. And he starts taking that one down. So whilst the Ghost Wing does go over to Wolves and they're really making the right moves as far as rotations is concerned, they're still being punished across the board, and Solicitude is still being an issue for the side of Wolves.
Objective gaming. Solicitude even will slap him on his way out there. Now, they were able to take down the Ghost Wing, but still completely on the back foot, down 12k overall net worth. Chrysaor is going to go ahead and drop the Gauntlet. Krax is inside, blocks off the front of the Hell's Heart and the Gauntlet. Moving back, Krax taking a lot of damage now. Solicitude, he's there, starting to spin with the Red Mist. Breaking Point building up, but a Solar Storm tears on through. That'll take the Kroll down. Alpha in the Infinite Reboot. Chrysaor getting chased down by Keanu Nakoa. The fight spreads out as the wolves dropping like flies. Keanu, he'll be able to find that kill, and this should be Rising Lotus ending the game, unless it's just the biggest Dragon's Breath I've ever seen in this game.
No, it did get buffed, but Asteroid, he's surrounded and he will fall there. How deceiving is Solicitude's health bar, Humanist? You know, he gets knocked down to about 1/3 health, walks away and then jumps back in and heals it all back up. Rising Lotus taking a well-deserved win over Wolves and really starting to find their feet here in the EU VPL. I wish I could say the same about Wolves, but they've got some time to work on their game. For now, it's praise to Rising Lotus.
That was the thing of beauty. Thing of beauty indeed right there. I think, you know, Dowsey, for me, is you could see that Wolves are actually incredibly talented, and they just got to put it together like Rising Lotus did. But yeah, that was the thing of beauty. Let's see what's going to happen. What Flash X, Tasty Bacon have to say about this one, because there's a lot to talk about here.
I think the real thing of beauty is Humanist and Dowsey casting together. That was a fantastic game coming out from the side of Rising Lotus. So again, a little bit of shakiness towards the middle end of the game, but they were able to just, even when they lost objectives, still took advantages on the other parts of the map. Their ability to just kind of split their focus like that was really good.
Tentacion, our player to watch, played so well, positioning great every single time. We should be able to get a look at one of these team fights. Even better, though, Keanu Nakoa on this hybrid burst proc Blackfeather with that tension bow, with the aftershock, going in, finding these squishy carries, waiting in the brush, just going in and helping delete so many of these heroes on the side of Wolves Esport. Really, Rising Lotus looking so good, especially with their macro play.
And I'm actually going to focus on Krax a little bit there. His positioning and reflex block usage with the Celeste was outstanding. His ability to keep himself alive, even when he gets targeted early in a fight, you know, he was going to get caught up by multiple stuns and a gauntlet wall. Reflex block, walks through all of it, gets away with a sliver of health, and again, credit to the captain as well there. But then just turns around, gets himself into a good position, rips a Solar Storm through the team. Really, really outstanding play from Krax throughout this one as well. He was the player I was most impressed with, actually, from that game. But really just a strong showing from Rising Lotus. Wolves did what they could, but unfortunately, once again, going to be coming up empty. And we see throughout the rest of Europe, obviously we had that forfeit to start things off. Queso getting that win over Salted Potatoes. Clash took down Equinox, and Rising Lotus picking up their second consecutive victory over Wolves Esports.
Europe over, done with, looking absolutely beautiful. We have some more very exciting matches coming up in North America. TSM kicking things off against Vision Gaming. Nova Esports taking on Slimy Salamanders, and Hammers Esports taking on Rogue. There's going to be some great matchups, a lot looking forward to. Bacon, which one of those are you looking forward to the most?
I'm going to be definitely looking forward to that Nova Esports and Slimy Salamanders. Both these teams have had some long brawls, and I hope that we get to see another one here today. But that's going to just about do it for us in Europe. Those North American games are going to be coming up shortly. Before we go, though, we are going to go ahead and say congratulations to Music, who is the winner of the Maylene giveaway on Twitter. If you want to get involved, have a chance to get yourself that free Maylene unlock, make sure you tune in just about 20 minutes or so. When we come back for our North American games, we'll let you know how you can get involved and get your chance at winning a free unlock of Maylene. We'll see you then. Preseason Invitational for North America. After the first 2 weeks, the standings are starting to shape up with 3 teams tied for first with an undefeated 3-0 record. Team Salamanders, Slimy Salamanders, and Tribe sit atop the standings, followed by Rogue, Nova Esports, and Vision Gaming and Hammers Esports Tilt Rehab, both still looking for their first victory as we kick off week number 3.
What does it take to mold a champion? Shape your destiny. Hone your craft. In mobile esports, it doesn't get any bigger than this. This is Vainglory, where you master powerful heroes, destroy the enemy Vain Crystal, and claim glory. 5-person teams are forged from across the globe. The best in the world begin their journey now. This season, elite teams attempt to survive a gauntlet of fierce competition from an onslaught of mobile superstars. They'll take their shots until a champion is crowned in their region. Today is where the molding begins, the preseason, where teams have the chance to establish their rhythm as a new 5-player team, try out strategies, and gel as a group in preparation for a historic run for the championship. The VPL Preseason Invitational begins now.
Hello and welcome to week 3 of the Vainglory Premier League Preseason Invitational. We cannot wait to get the games underway today, and they have been spectacular, as evidenced by Iraqi Zoro's tweet from last week.
Iraqi definitely satisfied with going 2-0 on the weekend. They definitely want to keep progressing. He understands that the stakes are not very high. Having taken a little bit of a break from competitive play last year, definitely excited to be back in the mix. Boom! How's it going, everybody? My name is Flash X. Myself and my buddy Tasty Bacon taking you guys through things here today on week number 3 of the Vainglory Premier League Preseason Invitational.
Yeah, it's been a great first 2 weeks of the season, but we are now on update 3.2. Things are changing in Vainglory, and we got to see a little bit of evidence of that over in Europe. Some very quick games going down there. Lots of early aggression. We've been wanting to see North America step up that aggression. This could be their chance to really kick it into the next gear.
Absolutely. So many of these changes are geared towards the importance of the early game. We're going to be taking a look at TSM versus Vision Gaming coming up first, seeing if they can execute on those changes. Nova Esports, Slimy Salamanders to follow, and then Hammers Esports versus Rogue to wrap up the day.
Yeah, and we talked about how quick games can be. We've got 2 teams in there that have played some very long games thus far this preseason. We'll get to see them go head-to-head, but again, getting a look at TSM against Vision, there's a little bit of a rivalry that could be brewing in those 2 camps. It will be really interesting to get into.
Yeah, TSM picking up 2 players off the former Vision Gaming roster out of Cause and Shaded Talent. They've both been superstars so far on TSM, definitely core components to why they are started off 3-0 thus far in the Vainglory Premier League Preseason Invitational. Cause on that Kestrel, dropping huge glimmer shots. Obviously, Chuck still coming back on the side of TSM, executing very well as their mid laner. And then Daniel on this Black Feather, putting in a lot of work, and then Shaded Talent wrapping up things as the captain.
Yeah, as a squad, they've just been looking very strong, like one of the strongest teams in North America, as the standings evidence. And, there's a lot of questions. Will they be able to contend with Tribe? We'll get to see that in future weeks, but for today, it's going to be that matchup against Vision. And, Vision, they're going to have their work cut out for them coming into this one. First of all, the emotions of playing against your former teammates, if you're someone like PvP Warrior, trying to get your team rallied and motivated for this matchup, but then just seeing how strong TSM has looked through the first 2 weeks and knowing that that's now what you have to contend with.
Absolutely. TSM super clean, and a lot of their gameplay, we've definitely seen them develop and evolve as the season has gone on. Hopefully they're able to continue that here today with the 3.2 updates.
Yeah, well, with TSM performing so well, there's a couple question marks as to who's going to be the top of the power rankings with 3 undefeated teams. So we sent a question over to Munchables, who's, again, still just going around exploring Vegas. We saw him at the offices at one point, but he took care of our power rankings for us this week. He has Tribe in the #1 spot, followed by TSM and then Slimy Salamanders. Agree or disagree?
You know, I have to agree with him. Tribe on paper, so many veteran, longtime players coming back. You have the players on the World Championship team from last year, obviously forming and bringing in Cloud9's roster as well. They are so good and so talented. Makes sense, top 3 overall. All of them are undefeated. Definitely looking forward to the TSM versus Tribe matchup at the end of the season.
Yeah, I was actually really curious when we got word that he was putting together the power rankings, because I was curious to see if he would actually still have Slimy Salamanders as the 3rd spot, even though they're undefeated, because, you know, there's some talk that maybe there are teams that are better than them, just don't have the same record because they had to face Tribe and TSM. And Slimy Salamanders, you know, haven't had the most convincing of victories, but when you get 3 victories and 0 losses, I think you have to be included in that top conversation.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. Definitely some very good teams there. Slimy Salamanders looking to make more of a name for themselves. They have a harder matchup against Nova Esports, definitely a mechanically talented team. And if they can't execute the early game well, that's something that could come back to haunt them.
Well, speaking of the early game has been changed pretty drastically here in Update 3.2. The lane minions, they spawn a lot earlier now, so there's now choices to be made of, do you try and contest the jungle, do you just get to lane and farm up? Ghostwing had its power increased for the buff that you receive upon capture, and now have 25% increased damage to turrets, and we got to see that earlier.
This is Clash executing on that Ghostwing buff so well. 25% extra damage to turrets. They had no turrets down in this bottom lane before they took the Ghostwing. They charged all the way through, took down all 3 turrets, straight into the base of Equinox, going right onto that armory, and taking down an armory just 8 minutes into a game is insane, and so hard for any team to have to deal with throughout the rest of that game.
Yeah, this early game has been really accelerated. And then, of course, you know, the final change that is on 3.2, the final major change is the Black Claw spawning 3 minutes earlier, now spawning at 12 minutes instead of 15. Another thing that just kind of really accentuates that early game pressure that you want to be bringing to the table.
If you are able to develop a lead here in the early game, you don't have to wait for 15 minutes for the Black Claw to spawn. You can just take it. You can be rewarded for your great objective control. Let's see how these teams draft going into this one today.
Yeah, we'll get to see that right now as we head on into the picks and bans for game number 1 of North America. TSM right off the bat, they're going to be going ahead and getting us started.
Taking Reza off the board, definitely making sure that their mages in the backline are protected. Kestrel makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, not seeing any Malene here today. No surprise there. She's still so strong. Vision Gaming, though, gonna have to figure out how they want to answer this Kestrel pick.
Yeah, I mean, the Celeste is available. I would not be surprised to see Celeste come off the board, but in Europe, we saw Celeste dropping to a little bit later in the draft in both of our games, so it could be a situation where they want to just wait on it, but no, they're just going to grab that Celeste right away and get it. And then the Lyra, which has been so focused on in Europe, also going to be going over to Vision.
That is a deadly duo, a ton of sustain, huge ability to kite. When Lyra puts up that bright bulwark, it makes it very difficult to try and dive on into that back line. Shaded talent, TSM picking up that Tony. That's a pick that he's very comfortable with. He's had some great bada booms and definitely going to be trying to push Celeste back into the side of TSM if she steps out of position.
Yeah, and that's going to be where all of a sudden that Lyra play becomes extremely important as well, because if that Celeste gets out of position because of a bada boom, a portal could potentially get her back into the position she wants to be. So there's a lot of kind of interplay between these heroes thus far. And going into the next wave of bans, Samuel's going to get taken off the board. Vision Gaming saying, you know what? We feel like these are the 2 strongest mid laners. We're going to take one, take the other one off the board. So now you are forced onto what many people consider that 3rd tier. Although Varia, I still say, should be in that top tier with the rest.
Varia, very good. I think the advantage of Samuel is with how important the early game has become. I would actually argue that Samuel is the strongest mage in the early game. I think Celeste definitely outscales him a little bit, but the early game pressure, not something that Vision wants to deal with. TSM opting for the Grace ban. Definitely interesting ban there.
Yeah, it's a little surprising. I mean, we've seen some Grace play flexed into the top lane. We've seen it played as a weapon carry. We've seen it played as effectively a second captain as well. So I think it's just the versatility they want to take off. I don't know if it warrants a ban, especially not this early in the draft. But Kroll going to go over to Vision. They've got to be very happy with their first 3 picks right now.
Getting Kroll all the way through into the second pick phase has basically been unheard of. TSM gonna have to be really careful here. Kroll can be very hard to deal with. They don't have a ton of kiting sustain. Daniel, however, going to be on his comfort Rona pick. Definitely something that has been banned away from him very frequently throughout this preseason.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm just still very surprised that teams are not just trying to ban or take away the Blackfeather and Rona. He has played them almost every single game, I believe, and even going back before the preseason in other community tournaments, that's all he was playing is this Blackfeather and Rona. It is by far his 2 most comfortable heroes. Even if he has a deeper hero pool, which I would assume he does, force him to show it at some point. Come on, guys.
Yeah, definitely. He's only played 2 different heroes, doesn't have the deepest hero pool that we've seen. Vision picking up the Idris, definitely an interesting pick there. We might potentially see a weapon power Idris this game, or it's going to be a safe lane crystal power Idris. We've seen that as well. TSM taking Glaive off the table, though. Another interesting ban out of the side of TSM. Not a hero we have seen a whole lot of in the preseason thus far.
I feel like these bans are almost targeted at different teams. Like, you know, Tribe has been running the Grace to great effect. We saw Slimy Salamanders with was it Slimy Salamanders or Rogue with the massive impact on the Glaive, and so but we haven't seen it really out of Vision, so it's a little bit surprising that they're focusing there. But then it's going to be the Lorelei as the final pick, another one of the more unconventional heroes that we have seen her a few times in the preseason.
Definitely something TSM works very well. Hammy's going to be playing that CP Lorelei up in the top lane. With those pools, the fish food, it can do so much damage to turrets, making very easy to push them. And that is so important to having here in this 3.2 update.
I do also have to say, you know, just going back a little bit, I really like that Sky ban that Vision chose there. Sky, I think, would have worked really well with what TSM already had. If they put the Tony as a captain, Sky could dance around the Kroll, keep up with the Idris, get deep onto the Celeste. So I think that was a very, very smart ban. And then go ahead and grab the Vox. So now a little bit of flexibility. You know, do you go for the weapon or the Crystal? Idris and Vox, both of them can be flexed either way and still have a major impact in 5v5.
Absolutely. Vox, such a good counter pick to Rona. Picks up that poison shiv, knocks off all of her fortified health. Definitely something that TSM is going to have to watch out for.
Yeah, it's going to be something I have to watch out for, but I feel like TSM still will likely be a more confident team going into this matchup because they have just looked very strong.
Absolutely. Daniel, going to be the player to watch for the side of TSM on that Rona. Going to have to watch out for that Vox. He has looked so strong in this preseason, a huge factor on this Blackfeather, making sure that he's keeping up all of his CS, all of his farm, staying even with the enemy team, picking up and punishing enemies whenever they're caught out of position. Shaded Talent, obviously a huge factor in getting that last kill. And even in this 1 versus 2, still making plays.
Yeah, and meanwhile, on the other side of the Rise, I'm going to be looking at Neon Fire. Not so much for any of his positioning or his pressure like we look at for a lot of players, but I want to focus on his build path. For every single game thus far, he has built very, very little damage. Usually 1 offensive item, if he even gets that far. So, but he's been playing carries. It's been very strange to me to see his build path. I want to see him build a little bit more damage, play more like a carry, you know, look for damage, look for kills, instead of just trying to play like more of a utility or support player for the rest of his team.
Definitely a meta unique to North America with those utility top laners, something that Neon Fire is very comfortable with. Not going to be on one of those heroes today. He is going to have to step it up a notch with some of these mechanics. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be one of those situations where, you know, a lot of it is based on what you have in compositionally. You know, if you feel like you want to have that tankiness, then it can work. But in 5v5, with so much aggression coming out, I feel like you need to have that damage. You need to be able to match. You know, if you're a top laner, especially, you're going to be split pushing a lot of the time. If you don't have that damage in your inventory and you go to split push, the other team's just not going to care. You're not going to be able to burn through their turrets quickly enough. So, I want to see something shake up for them, because Vision has struggled a little bit here early in the preseason. Maybe getting a little bit more damage, a little bit more pressure is the key for them to kind of get things turned around.
Definitely. They need to make sure that they have a concise shot caller, making sure they're keeping everything organized against a team like TSM. Definitely going to be a huge upset here today if they are able to find victory. We're going to have to find out.
Yeah, and we'll have to find out. Unfortunately, we won't be finding out with the help of Malene, as we'd love to get to see her on the rise, as a lot of these players definitely have been having a lot of fun with Malene. Starting all over, took to Twitter alongside of Louis Vuitton, the two of them going back and forth a little bit over who was the better Malene. They went and had some 1v1s against each other, so the players are definitely ready to try and take her onto the rise. It's just a matter of, will she ever get through that first wave of bans?
Absolutely. The skill cap being so high on Malene. All of these players starting all over, especially so mechanically gifted, that they're playing her to her absolute max potential. And if she does get onto the Sovereign's Rise, she can be an absolute menace and monster to have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, something we talk about with Malene a lot is, how quickly you can use her abilities. A phrase that's used, or terminology in a lot of other esports, is APM, or actions per minute. Those are through the roof with Malene, so much higher than any other hero that has ever been released in Vainglory.
Absolutely. She's very mobile. She's got great offense. Crystal Power mid laner, 5 abilities. That's a Vainglory first with 5 abilities. Definitely something that is a huge factor as to why all of these players are really enjoying playing her, but on top of that, why they are scared to let her go through the draft.
And you don't have to just take our word for it. You can go ahead and try and get yourself a free unlock of Malene. Just tweet at us using hashtag VPL or hashtag Lightform or hashtag Shadowform. We will announce the winners at the end of each broadcast. We've already given out 1. We have 3 more to give away this weekend. You definitely want to make sure you get entered into this. Or if you're feeling impatient or you just don't particularly feel lucky, you can head on into the app right now, go into the store, unlock Malene for yourself, and start taking her onto the rise. You will not regret it. She is a ton of fun to play.
Absolutely. She's so good. Not surprising at all to see that she has been banned on the B side every single game thus far, especially in a best-of-1 situation. None of these teams want to take the risk of allowing the A side team to pick her up. I definitely expect her to be banned for the rest of today unless one team is feeling particularly bold.
And, of course, that's to get involved with us on Twitter. If you want to join us on other social media, we have a brand new Instagram. You can follow us at Vainglory Esport. It is completely new. A lot of stuff getting posted there. But also, speaking of things that are completely brand new, how about the new studio that we will be moving into in just about a month now? I cannot wait to get over there. The brand new PokerGo studio at Aria Esports.
Vainglory Competitive Gaming has a new home in Las Vegas, the Aria Resort and Casino. The PokerGo studio, in partnership with ESP Gaming, the name behind the Vainglory Premier League. A state-of-the-art, multi-million-dollar showplace, streaming lounge, and the most advanced tech to bring you mobile esports like never before. Welcome to the new home for the Vainglory Premier League.
As soon as we are ready to get into that studio, it's going to be fantastic. As soon as we're ready to get into this next game, we will be getting onto the rise. Unfortunately, we are just waiting for a couple of the players to get some device issues sorted out. But as soon as they are ready to go, we will be throwing it over to our casters to get the action underway. But for now, let's just continue to talk about this draft and what we're kind of expecting to see out of each of these two compositions.
So with the minions spawning faster now, I think 20 seconds into the game, there is more room and more opportunity for these teams to find these different rotations in and out of the jungle to try and position, especially when they have the early game advantage. I love Kestrel here in the early game. She can put on so much damage. That's something Vision is going to have to watch out for. However, if TSM overextends, Kroll can easily come in and punish that.
Now, as someone who was a former player and was the captain for your team, when you see the draft like this and you have a lot of flexibility options for your opposing side, I mean, both of these teams have a little bit of flexibility of how they can go. You can go a carry Lorelei or a carry Tony. You can go weapon or crystal with both Idris and Vox. Does that change, your last second preparations going into the game, trying to decide what your opponents are going to do?
It always comes down to how your pre-game preparation was. I think that both of these teams have the staff and even just the players' knowledge themselves to be able to say, this is how we want to execute. This is what we know works well. This is what we're comfortable with. And I don't think we're going to see anything too out of the ordinary. However, there's always room with these divergent build paths, whether it's weapon power or crystal power, for some of these players to kind of mix some of these things up. But I think that we're going to see very standard builds here today.
Yeah, and we've been seeing this Idris showing up a lot more in the drafts over the last really last week and this week. But coming into this week, we had a lot of different heroes picked. 32 of the 38 heroes in the game through the first 2 weeks have been chosen. Europe using 26 and North America using 27 unique heroes. Celeste, Samuel, and Tony have unsurprisingly been the most picked heroes. We do have 2 of those 3 in this game, and we're going to get to see them on Sovereign's Rise right now as we are heading into the game. It's going to be Denomine and Humanist with the call.
Thank you very much. Tasty Bacon. Really a hell of a host, Denomine, I gotta say. And we are into the game. Team Solo Mid versus Vision Gaming. Denomine, how you feeling?
I'm doing all right, and Eunice, I do want to say I'm excited to see our boy Don Deasy in here playing for Vision. He's picking up this Krull, and hoping that he can really abuse that early game power of this hero.
Don Deasy stepping in here at the last minute. I mean, what does that do to a player?
Well, just shows that he was available for the team when they needed him, but now in 3.2, looking here at these rotations, we do see the teams going into that middle lane, getting that farm now that the minions do spawn 10 seconds earlier, and then making rotations into the jungle. As we see, Vision Gaming, they did push into TSM's jungle, they did get that crystal buff, but TSM recognized the rotation, did the same themselves, and were able to take away the enemy's jungle as well. So we'll have to see who ends up getting out the better favor. As of right now, TSM, they're a couple hundred gold ahead.
So, kind of different rotations coming out in 3.2 here with the lane minions getting out there a little bit quicker. I personally like it a lot. Do you like those changes?
I do. I think it brings a little bit more of potential early engagement there in the mid lane, depending on how many people make that rotation and how much lockdown your team has specifically. Possibility to get an early pick, possibility to start that snowball up a little bit early, and some other changes that are huge to make note of here for 3.2 is Black Claw now spawns a little bit earlier at that 12-minute mark.
That's a big change as well. I did a little EU casting as well this morning, and I really noticed that Ghostwing buff, plus 25% damage onto objectives, pretty big deal.
Yeah, especially for those really heavy split push heroes, thinking of something like a Rona or a Scarf or a Celeste, someone who can really just obliterate those objectives. And, it's definitely noticeable. So we're going to see a lot of prioritization onto those dragon objectives, specifically, like you mentioned, that damage buff on Ghostwing. That's almost better than a Black Claw to me right now in this scenario, at least. So definitely interesting to see there. Now, Kestrel did make it through, but has been nerfed a little bit. Evader
Looks like he's been debated. He's going to be the first blood, and Don Deasy getting chopped on down. TSM feeling pretty good about that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting 2 on the board there early. They're now sitting 1,000 gold ahead in just 3 minutes. So they are starting to get the ball rolling on that. Shade of Talent, he is going to be on that Captain Tony. And with the Come At Me perk, this Tony is going to be incredibly tanky on the front line. Not only is his build going to be very tanky, he's also going to get that big burst of barrier every 8 seconds when he takes damage. Now they found some damage on the pool. Not looking to be enough, though.
All right, Pool doesn't care. Long hair doesn't care. Lyra's got those heals. He can take that damage. Not really a problem. Next, I saw Minion Candy coming out there. Deasy! Getting taken on down there. Almost too easy as they take down that Don Deasy.
Yeah, and another Crystal Treant is now going to go over in favor of Team Solo mid. I do believe theirs may be up as well, so we'll have to see as we get on over there. Oh, great taunt!
Back on! Come on, rain on the damage down. I'm looking for double kills here. Nom-noms, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And one huge thing that the side of Vision do have going for them is while Crystal Kestrel is still a massive threat, she's been tweaked a little bit to do a little less damage. At level 8, Lightning T is going to have the range to really zone out this Kestrel and the potential to do damage there. So really got to get Lightning T online as soon as possible. Got to make sure this Celeste gets, basically super fed so she can get into the later stages of her build and hit that level 8 mark as soon as possible.
Well, I mean, what's a way that you're going to look to accomplish that? Are you giving some extra camps away over to that Celeste, or are you just protecting the Celeste? How does that work out?
Well, since the Krull specifically is behind right now, I would like to see Celeste make some rotations into the jungle and at least get the ambient experience and gold. Krull does need those last hits though, so it is going to be important for Krull to get the farm. Getting Celeste to level 8 though almost changes her playstyle. You can afford to be incredibly aggressive. You can start pushing back the enemy with your range and start sniping out some of these incredibly squishy targets. Both the Celeste and the Scarf are going to be going very heavy crystal builds, and they're going to be a little bit lackluster on their range, specifically that the Scarf can be body blocked out on.
And that Scarf's gone for Spellfire already, so Chuck actually having an impact. Like, even if it's not significant damage, it's just reducing what the Lyra is able to accomplish. Now, speaking of the Lyra, Pool having to boost himself out of there as he ran right into Shaded Talents and Cause. Vision Gaming trying to make rotations around the map, but TSM kind of in a forward position wherever they move. Look at those Glimmer Shots just splashing on through there.
Yeah, and I'm actually interested to see the Lorelei come through here for Hammy. It's not something we normally see him play, but it is going to give a little bit of an additional safety net, having that water wall for the team. And Daniel on the chase here.
Oh, turret into the one-shot. Daniel looking to spin to win. That's a turret down, essentially for free, as Pool and Evader really can't do anything there.
Absolutely, can do nothing but watch that objective fall. And now, as we mentioned, that the Ghost Wing is so much more important now in this 3.2 update. We see at TSM, they get a pick, they get an objective, and they're immediately pushing onto this Ghost Wing, getting that buff, and now they have that additional 25% damage to structures. So in this 3.2 update, I can definitely expect we're going to see some faster games.
Indeed. A little taunt coming out of Shaded Talent, a little trash talk over there. And he's in a great place to be doing so. We're about 7 minutes in, TSM up 3-0, and they're going to get on this T1 turret here in mid. DZ making his rotation over, only level 5. He was making a lot of movements up in top, but not getting any camps or any experience at all. So he was waiting for his opponent's jungle to spawn. It's kind of a rough place to be in. Still level 5 at this point. TSM onto the T2 very easily. Daniel clipped by that Solar Storm, but not enough damage really to be threatening at this point. Chuck essentially untouched, just raining down Spitfires and Goops at this point and doing a lot of work here. The minion wave has caught up, and they're going to be taking down the T2. In fact, it's the jump in by DZ. The Dragon's about to roast him and toast him. He's going to get 2 off of that old portal. Oh, but he takes it down the spell for a triple kill. That's the best Chuck I've ever seen.
Yeah, huge plays coming out of Chuck there. Scarf did get some tweaks this update. The ignite damage coming out of the goop is a little bit higher, and the damage over time is a little bit lower, but the base damage on
Vader's in a rough place. Continue, but Evader is probably going to get chased down.
I was just going to mention the base damage of that Dragon's Breath has come up a little bit as well. And just as I start talking, Evader does get picked off there on this Idris, just now completing his first tier 3. So we can definitely see how behind the builds are for the side of Vision right now. They're sitting down 6,000 gold, and it's not really a comfortable place to be in. They have the Celeste, thankfully, and hopefully Lightning T can carry them through the later stages of this game.
I love how Celeste is just like the saving grace for like the fallback whenever one team's just getting dominated, and it doesn't matter like literally what's happening. It can be game to game, whatever, the drafts are different. If the team was getting roasted, we're just like, well, I mean, they have a Celeste, so there's a chance here, right?
Celeste's late game potential is absolutely dominating for all causes, and just to get it out there easy. Dragon's Eye first, so he's not going to have that upfront burst, but as the team fights get longer, as long as he's able to stay safe, then he is going to start to obliterate targets. His one big concern is going to be Shaded Talent. He cannot get hit by that taunt, otherwise it's going to be way too easy for Daniel to get onto him and just ramp the damage up so quickly. We have the Serpent's Mask already, so we know how sustain heavy Rona can be, and Daniel's getting ready to complete the breaking point. And against a no defense target, Rona can build that breaking point up in just a mere couple seconds.
And a lot happening across the map here. I'm going to focus on Hamuel here for a second. Looks like they're potentially going to go on him up and top it. He hasn't really moved. In fact, he has more farm than anybody on his team. Switch down to bottom. Daniel able to take the turret. I don't know if they chase this on forward. Is it going to be a big... The stun! As you see him waiting for those glimmers, maybe looking to turn around there. He'll have some mercy on Pool. Cause, really a player.
Oh, almost got the kill there onto Pool, who's going to be able to make it out alive. Now, Chuck and Kaz both have the Spellfire, so we're talking about on the Scarf specifically how that item is so useful at keeping the healing down from Pool. They have 2 on their team, and can specifically, both of these heroes can hit multiple targets, get that mortal wound spread around a lot, which is going to prevent both the fountain and the healing from not only Lyra, but also some of that self-sustain that Krull is going to be bringing to the table himself, and even the little bit that Neon Fire with the Poison Shiv is going to have.
That's a real feels bad type of situation. I mean, at this point, is it just like, okay, we don't really have an answer to that? Besides Lightning T just trying to keep himself safe, what is the plan?
I mean, the plan for the team right now is kind of just, you got to turtle, you got to get your farm, you got to get a little bit further into your builds so that you can actually compete with Team Solo Mid, who have an 8,000 gold lead right now. Chuck and Kaz, they're able to poke through the front line with absolutely no problem, and that doesn't provide a lot of safety net for Lightning T or for Evader, who are going to be kind of those 2 hyper carry Crystal Mage scenarios here. Neon Fire, he does have the breaking point and the Poison Shiv, but he doesn't have a lot of raw damage to build that breaking point up very easily.
A little bit of a split push happening here. Splash damage raining on through. Evader put down first. They're going to be taking Pool as well. TSM running on through Vision Gaming, and get over here. They're going to get another kill for himself, and why don't you get in there, get a little ace Shaded Talent with the bottom boom off the mark. And with that, it'll be 1 armory going down, 2nd armory as well. And why don't you guys just get in there and end this game?
Yeah.
TSM 11-0. We're not even 12 minutes into this one, as they just dominate Vision Gaming here. What a performance.
Yeah, they played absolutely amazing. They got those early buffs coming out of the Ghost Wing, and every single time we saw them make the rotations and push down those objectives. They played the early game so smart that they never gave Vision a chance to come online, and that's TSM picking up another point here in the preseason.
TSM absolutely dominating from minute 1 to almost that 12-minute mark. Man, we had a lot to say in the moment, but let's hear what these delicious analysts have to say. Tasty Bacon, Flash X.
I mean, we got the change to have Black Claw spawn a little bit sooner because Black Claw wasn't even getting on the map. Still doesn't even get a chance to spawn in this game. You've got to be very happy about that
boys. There we go. That seriously, though, that was great execution. I thought they could have done more with the first Ghost Wing if we're going to be critical. I think that they should have been grouped as 5. Pushing straight on in, just like we saw Clash earlier today, but no, closing out the game was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, this was just, again, very, very dominant performance. Of course, not the full starting roster for Vision Gaming, but that's still, it doesn't really take away from how strong this TSM performance was, taking down the Vein Crystal in under 12 minutes. It's absolutely insane to see that level of execution.
Yeah, once they did group as 5, once they were all on the same page with that second ghosting buff, it was just go time. Great split push by Daniel in that bot lane, giving them some room to kind of maneuver around, figure out exactly how they want to penetrate the base.
Yeah, and I mean, Kaz really kind of taking things in matters into his own hands early, and then Chuck just cleaning up kills left and right. It was a very, very strong game, but we are going to move on to our next series of the day, and this is one where we're going to have a little bit of question marks as to how long the game is going to last. And we've heard from some of the players who've been involved in these very long games about, just how grueling it can be. Obviously, Slimy Salamanders and Nova both having some of those longer matchups. And we got a word from Rakizoro earlier in the week, talking about way too close for comfort. That's been the case more often than not for Slimy Salamanders.
Absolutely. I'm sure that especially with all these patch changes in 3.2, Iraqi Zoro at the helm of the Slimy Salamanders team is going to be looking to shorten these game times. We have Black Claw spawning 3 minutes sooner than what it did in 3.1. They definitely need to make sure that they clean up their macro gameplay, and when they start taking these objectives, that they are playing exactly how they need to, just barely slipping by some of these teams. A little bit of highlight here, Pico, when he was still on the team, no longer the case. Xenotech actually stepping in to fill those shoes, looking to be the top laner for the Slimy Salamanders roster.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of these longer games for them, but a lot of it is almost self-inflicted. As you see, they group up and just aren't quite able to make the decision push. They back away when they have health advantages, backing out of situations that they likely could go aggressive and go diving into. So obviously, the early game map changes are going to help with that, decisiveness, but I want to see the team themselves be more decisive in their shot calling and their decisions to go in on fights.
Absolutely. They need to make sure that they're all positioning correctly. In that last clip, they were kind of all jumping into the same area, huge chakram out of Idris, making it very hard for them to execute. If they can kind of fan out a little bit, use their range heroes to kind of hit the turrets from multiple sides, that's going to do them wonders in terms of finding better macro execution. Maleen, though, coming into the Sovereign's Rise.
I think Maleen is one of those heroes that could definitely help a team close out games quickly. She is available for these players to draft, but it has been banned every single game thus far today, to no one's surprise, I feel. But maybe we'll get to see her in one of these final 2 games of the day. I would love to get to see Maleen on the rise. Just don't know if it's actually going to happen because she is so good.
The skill ceiling with 5 abilities. SCMC taking it to a whole new level. So fun for so many of these professional players to utilize her kit. It's so dynamic in so many different ways. It's a lot to keep track of, making sure which abilities are off cooldown, which are ready. Is it in the light form? Is it in the dark form? Constantly switching back and forth to make sure she's taking advantage of those empowered auto attacks on the switch. So important, and definitely something that these players with such gifted mechanics definitely want to take advantage of.
All right, so we're going to be getting to see, will we have Maleen in her first appearance in game, or will she be banned once again as we get into the draft? It is Nova and Slimy Salamanders. Kestrel going to be that first ban. Of course, not banning Maleen on A side. You don't want to do that because you've our sure opponents. No Maleen ban! We got a Maleen pick!
We got a Maleen! That's got to be in the hands of either Truth Light or starting all over.
That's even scarier.
Yeah.
Like, I am Slimy Salamanders. What are you doing? What are you doing at this point? You're giving. We saw starting all over tweeting about how he feels he's the best Maleen out there, and they're gonna let him showcase it.
Yeah, that is absolutely shocking. I mean, it is the preseason. The stakes aren't too high. Hopefully, Slimy Salamanders wanting to have a little bit of fun with this, but I don't know how fun it's going to be if Truth Light or starting has Maleen in his hands and just going absolutely ham.
Yeah, it might be fun. Maybe it's like a kind of a hazing technique for whoever's going up against him. Say, go have fun leaning against Maleen with starting all over playing that hero, and the rest of the team can have some fun at the expense of one of their teammates. But I cannot wait to get to see. I don't even care about the rest of the draft. Like, let's just go into game right now with Maleen pick. That's all I care about.
Exactly. We're definitely gonna have a lot of fun watching the game. I'm sure once Denominate and Humanist have their hands on her, getting the cast set, that's gonna be a lot of fun for them. But Slimy Salamanders, they did go for that Lyra, Idris, and now Celeste combination. Those are 3 heroes that work very well together. They're gonna be able to kite back when Lyra puts up her Bright Bulwark. That can shut down some of Maleen's abilities. So something that she is going to have to watch out for.
Yeah, you need to have a lot of different crowd control options because she can just use that to go into shadow form and become essentially invincible for that period of time, untargetable. It's just a very, very strong ability for getting you out of a sticky situation. But if you have multiple forms of crowd control and you layer them properly, it doesn't matter. You bait out that ability, and then as soon as she reappears, you drop some more crowd control on her. She is very squishy. If you can actually get onto her, you can take her down in a hurry. That's why Nova, I'm expecting to have a little bit more protection for this Malene as well. Obviously, the Arden does that very well. I would expect something else to be one of those bruiser-type picks for their final selection.
Whoever is on the Celestis game is going to have to watch out for this Black Feather Arden combination. They dive so effectively. I love the Grace pickup right there, especially if they play the utility Grace that we saw a lot of last week. I mean, weapon power Grace, certainly if Malene's out of position, if Samuel's out of position, a weapon power Grace can just go straight into those back lines and deal a ton of damage. But even in the front lines, the Arden, the Black Feather, something that these squishier heroes are going to have to watch out for.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with these final 2 bans now, teams can kind of see what your opponents are planning, maybe think about what they expect or what you expect them to try and round out their composition with and take that away. So Gwen is taken off the board because there is no real ranged carry of weapon power carry option for Slimy Salamanders yet. Obviously, they could go for the Vox, they could go for the Ringo. There are still picks available, but with the Gwen ban, I would almost expect Nova to maybe try and get a Vox themselves.
Gonna take the Vox away from them right there, though. Seriously, that was a great ban. Great foresight out of sight of Tasty Bacon. Nova has a few different options for what they want to go for. Probably looking for a jungler at this point, assuming it's not the Samuel in the jungle. Definitely going to be interesting to kind of see how Slimy decides to wrap this up. They've been very decisive in their drafts thus far. Gonna pick up the Glaive. We saw TSM ban Glaive last game. Glaive definitely a hero that might be seeing a little bit of a comeback in this 3.2 update, but we're going to have to see, is it effective? Can Nova make it work here today?
It's also just one of those heroes that can peel for your hyper carry, which is exactly what we felt like Nova kind of would look for with a Malene pick. And so now Slimy Salamanders, again, I feel like they're going to want something that's that ranged weapon, maybe a Ringo. They're actually going to go with a Koshka instead. That was the other thing that I was thinking. They didn't really have a hero for status to play in the jungle because he has been dominant thus far this preseason, to the extent that he is going to be my player to watch for this game. He has been so strong with the pressure that he has put onto lanes, and just his total kill participation has been through the roof on all the heroes he's been playing, and this Koshka is kind of one of his signature heroes that he used to run all the time in 3v3, now going to bring it on to 5v5, where we've seen him just be able to run rampant in the jungle.
Absolutely. The early game, so important. Update 3.2. He can have a huge impact here in this game. On the flip side of the table, with the side of Nova, Eco definitely has been playing well throughout this preseason. He needs to make sure that he is still supporting and captaining this team exactly how they need it, facilitating a lot of these different team fights, helping keep his carries alive. Going to be so important in this game here today.
Yeah, and especially, again, when you have that Malene on your team, you need to be providing that protection for her so that you have here players like Starting All Over, like Truth, enable them to be able to carry the team. That's what this team is built around. You look at the roster, they are all about those hard carries, and your captain is so important at keeping those carries alive so that they can do their job. He's
been playing a lot of these aggressive go in, start team fight base hero. He's going to have Arden here today, so he needs to make sure that Malene is staying alive. Whichever hero Koshka is going on to, especially in this early game, he is going to have to make sure that they are getting the Vanguard to keep them in the fight.
Yeah, those early rotations are going to be so crucial, especially, that's why I actually really like that Koshka pick, because you have that early game pressure. You can get status into this mid lane and try and shut down the Malene before she really gets going, because if you don't put a lot of focus onto that hero, she is going to get out of hand and out of control very quickly.
Not only does she start off strong, she scales throughout the entire game, especially as her cooldowns get shorter as she gets these items underneath her belt. I'll be really interested to see what sort of builds they end up going for. I've seen a lot of aftershocks on Malene, actually, simply because she is switching between so many abilities so quickly that she can constantly proc the aftershock. There's also been great builds with alternating current because she is so reliant upon her basic attacks to deal a vast majority of her damage as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what kind of build you expect to see coming into this one, but there's not only you have the aftershock and you have the alternating current as options, but then there's also just the building flat crystal or flat cooldown. When Maline first came out, I put out a tweet asking, all right, what are you guys building on Maline? How are you building her? I got a couple of responses from some of the pro players saying, build full cooldown, just as much cooldown as you can. Get an aftershock, get a clockwork, and just spam abilities as tap everything as quickly as humanly possible, and you'll eventually get the damage out there regardless. So there's a lot of different ways that Maline can be built, a lot of different ways you can play her. Do you run around primarily in shadow form for the escape ability? Do you run around in the light form because you have the root available to you? There's a lot of different options. We'll finally get to see how the pro players are going to start playing it as we get into game. Humanist and Denomine take us through our first Maline game.
Well, Tasty Bacon, it would be our pleasure, at least it's definitely going to be my pleasure to nominate. I mean, how you feeling about this Maline in here?
I'm definitely excited to cast this one. I think Flash and Bacon hit the nail right on the head there, that Maline is so incredibly fun both to play and to just watch somebody who has such a high skill cap like starting all over bring the plays for us to witness here. Obviously, they were mentioning the Aftershock. I think the Aftershock is actually incredibly potent on Maline. Just like they said, able to spam through those abilities, spam out that Aftershock proc quite frequently. But not only that, Maline gets an empowered crystal attack every time she switches between her light and dark forms. And the shadow form has an empowered attack already on it that stacks with the damage of Aftershock and can be incredibly punishing.
Can be incredibly punishing. Right now, the punishing coming from the Salamanders, trying to get in there, steal that crystal tree, and they're just holding it there. Okay, they'll finally be taken as Nova and the slimy Salamanders playing some games early on here. And I'm really curious to see how people are going to play against the Maline, almost as much as I am to see how Maline is going to be played herself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a little bit rough for some of these teams to try to go against the Maline. Whoa, good pick from starting there.
Picked him like a booger. Now looking to put a little sugar on top of that. Mixi getting chased down. Mixi has a healing flask. He's maybe gonna be okay. No, Eco's here. Eco's gonna slingshot Erica on home. Mixi should be dying here any second. Mixi though, pretty much a legend at this point. Oh, he lets him go.
So close there, Humanist, but they are going to make it out alive. Everybody except for Status, who did fall here on this Kashka. We were talking about that empowered basic attack when switching between forms, and starting was able to make the rotation over with Erica Kane and get that empowered attack. But man, Status enters into the lane the wrong time, and Eco and Erica Kane, they're going to pick up kill number 2 there. We're not even 3 minutes in the game here yet, and the Salamanders have already given 2 over to the side of Nova.
2 early throws here, but I'm sure it'll be going back the other way. I think Status kind of misread that situation. The bummer for him, especially, on top of just going in and dying there, is that it was a situation where he could have got more done, but also using his healing flask right before he died means that's going to be on cooldown for a while.
Yeah, absolutely, and also delays him clearing through his jungle a little bit. And while it didn't get stolen away, even having that, additional 20 seconds between your rotations could be the matter of one of your laners surviving or dying or picking up that extra kill or letting it escape. So that is something we're going to have to watch the Casca if she can still continue to make effective rotations. Mixi obviously going to be in the lane here on this Idris.
Erica taking a lot of damage up in top. We'll get the Vanguard from Eco. Status almost finding a kill for himself there, as we see rotations up towards top from Wrecked. Again, Status, he's got that weapon buff, maybe thinking about wrapping around the back, but he'll go ahead and pull off of that. You can see that they want to get some aggression on the map, but just not really finding anything.
Yeah, and what is a little bit interesting here is we have seen starting in Truth switch lanes here. Typically we see Truth in the mid lane. Status is finding some damage onto Eco though. I'm unsure if he's going to be able to get the kill because the Vanguard's coming up. But Salamanders might be looking to steal away another Crystal Treant here and deny away some CS.
Well, theirs is being taken at the same time. Delphi able to grab that. Now Eco taking a lot of damage, stunned up and taking down the Salamanders, able to get on the board. And nice timing here is the healing Treant just spawning right there. I don't think, unless Erica gets a cheeky little take, this should be going the way of the Salamanders. And that's exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, especially on the Casca, using your speed to your advantage and your damage to your advantage early on is definitely something that you need to be doing. Otherwise, it's going to cause you to lose out. Here we go, under turret.
Here we go. There we go. Status. What's the play here, bud? Let's see if he's going to use that move speed and then be able to avoid this damage and get himself out of here. Erica, the faint of heart, thinking about chasing, but Mixi hammering on the turret. And this is going to be the Salamanders just being slimy.
Yeah, like I said, that movement speed coming out of Kashka can be used to her advantage, and diving between two turrets and two enemies, Status was able to make it out alive this time, so not giving another kill over. However, that weapon buff has worn off, so the gank aggression is going to be a little bit lower from this Kashka for the next minute or so before she gets her next rotation through on a buff. Delphi has picked himself up a Spellfire first item, and dating back historically in competitive, Samuel is one of Delphi's best heroes. So I'm excited to see him pick that one up. Obviously, we mentioned starting all over. Very, very high mechanical skilled player going to be on this Malign, and we're going to have to see what he can bring to the table, as well as now Status making his rotation through his jungle, probably on his way to that top lane to try to help get a push with Mixi.
Pretty significant damage coming out here in mid onto Iraqi, as well as that turret is wrecked. Tries to body block a little, also trying to just get that healing down, keep that lane in good fighting shape. Right now, it's actually Eco picking up the fountain, so Nova in a good position to take a fight if they do choose to go for it. Only level 4 on the Ardent, so there's no gauntlet out or anything like that, but you do have Oblivion for Delphi, starting all over, now level 6, getting that progression forward, and Truth starting to make a rotation, but a nice scout cam will reveal that rotation over from the glaive. I don't think anybody should be caught by this.
Good use of minion candy there in the mid lane by the side of Nova, especially against Iraqi Zoro, who's still level 6 on Celeste. He hasn't reached that huge power spike that we know Celeste to have, so we'll be struggling a little bit. But Erica Kane might have found a chance to get some damage.
Found a chance, misses the on point, Rose defensive back, reset, the team collapses on down. And Iraqi Thruro fully engaged.
Yeah, not only did Nova get the pick there, they were able to secure both the gold and experience, as well as the buff coming out of that Crystal Treant, winning over to starting all over. And now they're going to start pushing down this center turret and get some damage. Ghostwing is on the map, so I would expect, or at least hope, that one of these teams, when they do get a key pick like that, for example, onto the Celeste, that they take advantage of that time and try to pick up that objective. Because yes, you may have reined in a lot of damage on that central turret, but getting that Ghostwing buff could have given your team the opportunity to push more than one objective.
Truth in a 2v1 situation, literally taking Status and Xenotech toe for toe, or toe to toe. Xenotech chasing back, or getting back under the turret. Truth taking a lot of damage. He'll peel off of that one. Up in top, in the meantime, Erica able to find a kill onto Mixi. A lot of action happening across this map right now.
Yeah, we've got a one turret for one turret trade. Mixi did go in for that turret, gave his life for it though, and because the wave was pushed so heavily into Nova's turret, even though he died, he does not have a massive risk of losing his own turret here in the top lane, as he, actually Erica Kane now pushing up. Mixi's gone into bot lane here, and unsure what that rotation is about. Maybe they were thinking...
There was a lot of aggression kind of piling up down there. You had Truth, Eco, and Delphi all trying to get onto the turret there. They just switched the aggression over to Xenotech, and nothing really came of it, but I guess that's maybe why he's moving down.
Yeah, looked like it had been broken off for a little while there, but all the same, it was a rotation back to base by Erica Kane, so Mixi is not going to lose that top turret. Aegis first item complete here for the Blackfeather, trying to go very tanky into this Idris, who has those ranged crystal basic attacks, so a little bit different of a build path coming out of Erica here. We'll have to see if it ends up paying out for Nova in the long run.
Well, it's actually pretty interesting. I mean, there's a lot of crystal damage coming out from the Salamanders, and if he can tank up, being a nuisance, force... I mean, the thing is, like, if he jumps onto Iraqi and Iraqi respects that, he's going to be out of position. Right now, though, this is a potential Ghostwing take happening down here. Salamanders, they want to contest. Ghost Wing dropping down low. It's going to be going over to Nova, and Nova are going to be able to get kills, starting all over, starting with the Maline able to get a kill there now. Looking for more. The Salamanders dropping low. That's going to be 2 kills for Nova. Looking for more wrecked Arcane Passage back. Iraqi not in range to be attacked right here, but it's Xenotech who finds himself in a vulnerable position. And that's actually going to be the kill going over to Eco. So Nova, a huge turn of events here for them.
Yeah, absolutely. They were able to capture that Ghost Swing. They were able to turn that fight into a 3-for-1 trade. So Nova winning out at all points of that fight. They don't have quite the lead that TSM did in our first game here in NA right now, though. We're approaching the 10-minute mark. We only have about a 3,000 to 4,000 gold lead for the side of Nova. So the Salamanders definitely are not out of this one, especially with Mixi and Celeste. Iraqi Zoro are just now getting to really come online. Meanwhile, Delphi capitalizing on the Ghost Wing buff. They do take down that bottom turret and get a little bit more gold in the lead.
What's the use for the Grace here for the Salamanders? It feels like it's kind of flat thus far in the game. Is that just a timing thing? Hasn't hit the power spikes? Or I mean, is this a game where it's kind of hard to have an impact?
Well, ideally, Weapon Power Grace has a huge impact if you can get an advantage early. It's very similar to a Weapon Sky in my thought, at least, and they just haven't had an early game impact. In fact, they're down a little bit, so Grace hasn't really got the chance to really abuse some of the damage that she can put out. The nice thing is that she can hit multiple targets in a team fight with the second proc on her basic attack. So there's definitely some potential to build up some breaking point with the Serpent's Mask breaking point build. We also sometimes see Tension Bow Double Monocle come out of the Weapon Grace. And, again, the Weapon Grace doesn't have a huge taking off point if you're not capitalizing early. She will get tanking, she will be able to build up breaking point stacks in the later stage of the game, but isn't going to have that massive game-changing impact.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like it right now, and definitely on the back foot. There's a huge level disparity, small net worth disparity, but I mean, you look at the levels for Nova, there's an advantage in almost every lane and almost every single position here right now, and starting all over, definitely feeling himself. 80 last hits, 11.5 minutes in, 2-0-2 on this Maline. Pretty good showing for this hero.
Yeah, she's definitely a pretty high skill cap hero. I like the build that he's gone with the advantage that they have. We were talking about the alternating current and the aftershock earlier. He is not gone with either of those. He's gone for raw damage and also trying to shut down the healing that is going to come out of Rect and Xenotech. We have 2 healers on the side of the Salamanders, so going to be trying to shut that down. Meanwhile, starting does drop to status in the team up top.
Yeah, that was a really nice engage. It was the Arcane Passage in, and they just focused the Maline down. Now Erica taking a lot of damage, will get the Vanguard. Status on the front side for his team. He's gonna go ahead and jump in. A little bit of burst damage coming out. Gets his Twilly Death bonus damage coming on through. Iraqi tries to stay in position to land these Helios. Doesn't want to put himself in a vulnerable situation. You can see they're really respecting what Nova can do to turn that around. They'll be able to get another kill, get the Crystal Treants as well. So the Salamanders, a very big win, and I'm almost like, what was the rest of Nova doing in the meantime?
Yeah, definitely a rough split for the side of Nova, and now the Salamanders, they have a chance to push some damage on turret here, but they gotta be careful. Here comes Nova.
Yeah, Truth just lumbering his way on into that fight. Status incredibly low. He'll get a divine intervention, but Mixi roasted and toasted starting. He's found Wrecked, almost able to take Wrecked down, locking him into place. He'll drop into that pool, repositioning, avoiding some damage and lockdown as well. Maline, what a hero. He'll turn around, finds the root, slaps Xenotech in the face. He'll get another kill. Salamanders forced into the top river, and they'll just go ahead and back on out. Full teleports back to base. They're going to heal up, do a little shopping. But this could be the T2 turret being taken down in mid here.
Yeah, it definitely looks to be the case. Starting return to lane with a huge damage spike again. When Maline is in the light form and switches to Shadow, she gets that huge damage spike on her next basic attack. At level 3 where he's at, it's 180 base plus 100% crystal ratio. So that is a huge spike since he's gone with the Shatterglass and the Spellfire first item. And again, able to shut down some of the healing that comes out of Rect and Xenotech. He provides that additional utility for the team. Same with Delphi, same with Truth. Lots of mortal wounds going into this double heal comp.
A lot of mortal wounds, a lot of healing to negate here, and a lot of decisions to be made. Nom noms. So we got the Salamanders kind of hovering around Ghostwing. Nova know exactly what's going on, and it looks like they're almost trying to bait them away from that, really not wanting to take it just yet, as Erica has just been hanging on the top side of this map. Look at that damage coming on through. With the mortal wounds, the damage stacking up, Salamanders, they're going to go ahead and reposition back, allowing Nova an opportunity to clear all of this vision out.
Yeah, absolutely. Ghostwing is started up, but here comes the Salamanders. Can they make a play?
Let's see who's going to be the target. Truth with a nice peel. Let's see if they can turn this around. Xenotech with the Holy Nova, starting all over, taking huge damage. Status, perfect focus there. Xenotech will go down. It's been traded 1-for-1 at this point. Now Erica lands the on point, jumps on forward. Can they find the kill? Yeah, Status is down. Looking for Mixi. They'll get him. 485 damage on that crit. Malice of Verdict won't connect. The healing from Wreck boosting Iraqi forward. The movement speed could be just what a Celeste wanted there. Now the Drifting Dark, a nice Helio into the stun, Arcane Passage back from Wrecked, allow the Salamanders to reposition. I mean, honestly, they almost turned that around to find a kill there.
Yeah, it was very, very close, and unfortunately for starting all over there in that fight, he did switch to light form and used the Royal Amnesty to get that movement speed and try to get into the fight and help his team. However, Iraqi Zoro and Status, they turned their attention around immediately and were able to hammer him with damage before he was able to switch back to Shadow and use that Wicked Escapade to try to avoid some of that damage, as well as pass out some damage as well. It's a pretty big AoE spike, especially for a Kashka who's diving into that backline. Wherever the Wicked Escapade was used, takes a huge spike of crystal damage, 285 plus 60% crystal ratio.
Status jumping into 4. He's gonna regret that one as he just gets popped. It's gonna be Iraqi Zoro going down second, as some questionable decisions have been made by the Salamanders.
Yeah, definitely was a rough one there, and now with Status and Iraqi Zoro down, this should be an easy Ghostwing take for the side of Nova. They obviously have 4 of their members here taking that one, but here comes Wrecked and Xenotech. Can they make the steal? Little early there for Wrecked.
No, but they're definitely in a position to throw. I would know. Uh-oh, Wreck's been rooted down. Starting's got the damage. They're going to go ahead and knock Xenotech back as well. Well... tip your waiter. They just got served up a couple kills.
Yeah, absolutely. Mixi and Wrecked went in a little bit too early. The Arcane Passage came through. Wrecked was looking for the steal onto Ghostwing, because realistically, if you lose out on your captain and you get that Ghostwing steal, you've won that trade all day. Your team now has that 25% buff, and they can really run away with that.
Might find Status as well, not to cut you off there. Erica chasing Status through mid, as the rest of the team is pushing. Erica getting a solo kill, allowing Nova to continue to push here. Oblivion gonna look to disrupt this fight just a little bit, hold him in place. They'll be able to take him down. Delphi getting that kill. They're onto the armory here. Now this is a 3 versus 5 situation for the Salamanders. Mixi trying to get that chakram damage. We'll have to Shimmer Strike back onto the healing platform there as the damage continues to rain on through. Iraqi, he'll heal back up, wants to turn it back the other way, but they've lost their armory. And if they chase too far forward, honestly, this could be the go call right back the other way. Nova gonna respect it back on out, but really clean execution.
Yeah, I think Nova made the right call there. They don't want to give any gold over to the side of the Salamanders there. They were able to pick up kills. They were able to pick up the armory as well, which is now going to force that bottom wave up. That is something that the side of the Salamanders now constantly have to deal with, or have someone out of position clearing wave while the rest of the team gets ambushed. So great play from Nova there. That sets them up a lot of control for this game moving forward, especially if they can take this Crystal Treant, and they're going to get that one easy.
You can really tell from Araki's positioning that he feels the pressure. He feels that he needs to accomplish a lot for his team, apply a lot of damage, and that's why he's kind of a little bit more forward in these fights, because they really can't afford to not have that Celeste damage coming on through.
No, they definitely can't, and Iraqi Zoro's actually at a very strong point of his build, and if there's any situation where the Salamanders can start to turn this around, it's going to be started with Iraqi Zoro setting up a field of these Heliogenesis and baiting someone in, getting someone who's going to get caught into that huge damage spike, and potentially burn out a fountain from Eco early. as we've got the Black Claw now started up, and Salamanders, they're all here ready to go.
Yeah, potentially a defining moment of this game here. Iraqi starting to get a wall of Helios down. The Salamanders getting forced on in here. Oblivion's going to come through defensively. The Gauntlet down as well. Eco taking a lot of damage, but doesn't care as long as his team can apply the damage. Mixi avoiding that with the Shimmer Strike, able to reposition and get out, but status has gone down. They'll lose Iraqi as well. A defensive Arcane Passage from Rekt is all he can do is run and live up to his name as Nova puts him down into the dirt. A full ace for Nova. They don't even need the Black Claw. They'll push on in. This is going to be a sub 20-minute victory for Nova up against the Salamanders. Just a really beautiful performance overall from this squad.
Yeah, that was excellent execution from Nova. They had the aggro of Black Claw. They got a beautiful route coming out of the light ribbons from starting all over that locked up Rekt, and then Nova fully committed onto the Salamanders. They were able to clean that one up, pushing through that bottom wave that's already been cleared from the last team fight, and they take home this game.
Take home the game. They'll take the bragging rights as well. And Malene gonna go 1-0 in the competitive scene. Pretty fun game to watch as well. And let's see what our analysts have to say about that. Tasty Bacon, Flash X.
And Malene undefeated in professional Vainglory play as of now. Great performance there from the side of Nova. A little bit of back and forth in this game. You know, we were expecting that coming in, but at the end of the day, 8-2-5 for starting all over on Malene.
Completely outplaying the cameraman, not able to keep up with the action whatsoever. That's just a true testament to just how strong Malene really is.
Malene has so much mobility that the camera just lost track of her and was trying to find her somewhere on the rise. But, of course, we joke, unfortunately, had an issue with one of our Spectate clients. But thankfully, we were able to see most of that action, and especially down the stretch, what Malene was able to do.
Starting all over, definitely talking about how comfortable he was on Malene, how strong her kit really is. Definitely putting it into great use there, executing it, playing it at a very high level. 8-2-5, definitely a great stat line for him.
Yeah, right off the bat, Malene was able to have an impact in this game. And then, like we said, a little bit later on as well, able to find multiple kills. The most kills in the game went to starting all over on that pick. So a strong first showing for Malene. You know, not necessarily the dominant performance that we were maybe expecting to see. You know, he didn't really take over the game, but still a very, very strong pick.
Definitely surprised that Slimy Salamanders even let Malene through the draft. I'm sure that after that one, they wish they could have it back, just because she really is so hard to deal with. Status, as a player to watch on the Koshka, just couldn't get the ball rolling in the early game. He struggled, and as a Koshka, if you can't find a lot of success there, the rest of the game is going to be very hard for you. But Malene, just her kit, the invulnerability, the barrier, speed boost, so hard for a hero like Koshka to try and have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, there was one moment where it looked like they had starting completely caught out. There was a Celeste Solar Storm coming right at him, just drops into that pool of shadows and walks away unscathed. It was really impressive stuff from him. But that's our first Malene game in the books. Maybe we'll get a second one, but we'll have to wait and see, as we're going to be switching gears over now to Hammers Esports going head-to-head against Rogue. Both of these teams looking for a little bit of momentum, looking to right the ship, so to speak, as, you know, Hammers obviously have not picked up a win just yet. Rogue has one victory, but I believe if they actually, do they even have one? I'm not 100% sure. But either way, they have not been looking very convincing in their last few games. You know, their losses have not been particularly close for the most part either.
TSM definitely struggling against TSM here. No fault of theirs. TSM obviously playing at a completely another level. They can definitely step it up here today. They have to step it up here today if they want to find success. Same thing with Rogue. They need to try and turn things around. Obviously, Nova, a very good team. They just broke Slimy Salamander's undefeated streak, which is a pretty big deal. Granted, they have had a relatively easy schedule compared to that of Tribe or TSM, but Nova definitely a good team. Rogue definitely going head-to-head with them, and definitely need to make sure that they continue that here today.
And we've talked about the European most popular picks. These are the most picked heroes coming into this week for North America. You see Samuel has actually been topping the charts with Tony, Idris, and Kroll following him up. So Interesting to see that no Celeste in the top 4 most picked heroes for North America. Obviously, a lot more bans going her way in NA.
Absolutely agree with you, Samuel. Just really the next best mage, in my opinion, filling into that slot. But now that we have Malene on the Sovereign's Rise, that's going to be another mage that all of these teams are going to have to be concerned about. Celeste obviously getting through way more drafts today. I think a huge reason of that is because Malene is now a part of that meta. Teams are going to have to figure out how exactly to go about balancing which mages they want to deal with. Maybe they let both through and have an option to where you just try and outplay, maybe with a great captain. Be really interested to see how that kind of develops over the next couple weeks of the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we've seen throughout Vainglory's history. Is, when there's one really strong hero, it's easy to just say, okay, ban that one away. But then when there's 2 that can be considered top tier, you start saying, okay, do we just ban something completely different, guarantee that we get one of these 2 picks instead of just, only having the option for one or not even getting any of them? It's really a B-side decision at that point. If you have things like the Malene and Celeste and, they're both top tier, do you let the Malene go through, say, okay, you can have Malene, we'll get Celeste and something else that we feel can counter the Malene? That's the decision teams are going to have to start to make as we get further on. I think for this week, it's really easy to just say, ban Malene, just don't even deal with it. But as teams start to get more and more comfortable, they're going to be starting to go ahead and maybe let her through a little bit more frequently.
Absolutely. And speaking of draft, one thing that I think Rogue has done incredibly well up to this point is their drafting. They have had very balanced matchups, making sure that they're executing how they want to. Once they have picks locked in, they're making sure that they are using them exactly how they should. If they can do that against Hammers again today, that's something that will be great for them and really be really important for them trying to find success.
Yeah, it definitely could be, but we'll have to wait and see because we are about to get into the draft for our final game of North America. It's going to be Hammers Esports taking on Rogue. We're already started things off. No Malene going to come out this time. We will only get one Malene game here today. But it is going to be Scarf, Samuel, and the Kestrel coming on through as our first 3 picks.
Interesting stuff, for sure. I love the Samuel Kestrel combination out of Rogue that really enables them to try and play at range, make sure that they are kiting back at all times. It's a ton of early game pressure. It's a ton of early game damage that if Hammers misplays even just once, they can absolutely just snowball away with the rest of this game and punish Hammers for it.
Not only that, but just the early game pressure that can come out from both of them. And then if you go that Crystal route on Kestrel, if these are both Crystal, there is so much AoE involved with this team. I would not be surprised if they try and go for something like a Churnwalker as their captain just to help with that AoE damage spread even further.
Tony is still on the board. If Hammers does not take Tony out of the equation right here, that's going to be a super strong option for Rogue. I actually love the Churnwalker ban. Like you said, I actually think Churnwalker genuinely would have been stronger than Tony in this situation. Hammers realizing that, recognizing that, taking Churn out of the equation. Rogue actually went for the Idris. I think that they're confident enough that Hammers are not going to pick up a Tony-Lyra duo. They definitely could. We've seen teams do it, running one in the support role or the Lyra in the carry role. But yeah, definitely safe drafting out of them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the Idris pick, it's very likely that the Idris is going to be the one going Crystal. And now, because they couldn't get that Churnwalker, they say, okay, we're fine running this Kestrel as a weapon Kestrel. Just go for that single target, try and delete people in lane, win that 1v1 matchup, shove down turrets extremely effectively. It's something that Kestrel definitely has that flexibility and versatility to be able to do. On the other side, we see that Glaive coming through again, and then the Arden to follow up with a Lyra already on the board. Is this going to be that carry Arden?
Definitely could be. We have seen carry Lyra. This might be the first time we're seeing carry Arden. Rogue, though, going for the Jewel, which is very interesting. They've definitely saved their captain for last pick. We saw that definitely earlier in Europe as well. That is something that can also sit in these backlines and do a ton of damage from distance.
There's also the fact that a lot of the damage coming out of Hammers is directional, so she can get herself positioned in such a way that she always has that front-facing armor soaking up a lot of that damage. I actually really like the Jewel pick. I think it's a very fun pick to play. We'll see how effective it can be here. I do want to say, though, we did see a carry Arden at one point, a pseudo-carry Arden, I'll say. Went for the Aftershock and then defensive items. Didn't work out that well. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more damage, a little bit more offensive-oriented Arden. I would love to see the weapon Arden come out finally. I still super big on weapon art, and even on, especially on 5v5, but who knows, it could end up being, as you mentioned, the carry Lyra as well. Plenty of options available to Hammers.
I definitely think it's viable. A couple patches ago, we saw the increased range on his Blood for Blood. We saw the extra damage in Blood for Blood as well. He has the damage. This is a very utility-heavy based comp.
This is protect the scarf comp.
That is exactly what it is. But because Rogue has all these different range damages from so many different positions, that's going to be something hard for them to deal with. They're going to round out their composition with the Captain Lorelei.
I mean, they really didn't have many other options for a captain. You could have gone Fortress or Grace, but aside from that, you know, Tony, Arden, and Lyra all picked, and then Catherine being banned. Hammers were really trying to squeeze that captain hero pool this game.
Absolutely. They're so tanky. They are going to be able to absorb a lot of that backline damage that Rogue has, but the question is, can Hammers even match the damage with Scarf in and of itself? Time's going to tell.
Yeah, we'll get to our players to watch for this game. Starting off for me, I'm going to be watching on Hammers Papa John. He made his first appearance last week in their final game, and he has been the only player in any of Hammers Esports games to have a positive KD ratio. The only one. No one else on this team has had a positive KD through any of their first games. So really, you know, kind of the shining bright spot for them last week. Hopefully he can continue to step up and perform at the top level for this team, because they need a few things to go right.
You could definitely say that he delivered on the other side of Rogue. JFMAMJJASOND doing work here in this preseason. Jason for short, all the months of the year. He has been absolutely phenomenal in the games that they've done well. He knows how to frontline really well, making sure he's absorbing a lot of the damage for his team. He needs to step it up, though. He has struggled against some of these higher tier teams. If he can kind of make sure he's on the same page with his carries at all points in time, he will definitely do wonders on this Rogue roster.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about, you know, the Rogue having different kind of positions for the team, especially Evol switching to mid lane, you know, picking up different players. This is just what they felt like would work best for them, you know, and moving forward, what they wanted to do. And these new players joining the roster, like JFAM having to come on in, are going to be needing to make an impact. We'll see if they can make an impact as we head on to Sovereign's Rise right now with Humanist and Denominate.
Thank you very much, Tasty Bacon. Once again, you guys holding it down on the desk. You're doing a wonderful job. You're beautiful people. But we're into the game, so we can't continue to just praise you, because we've got Hammers up against Rogue. I'm Humanist. I'm with Denominate here. And Noms, how are you liking these drafts?
I definitely think the draft phase was a little bit different here from both sides. I'm interested to see after we figure out if Junami survives or not, which she's going to.
Survived. Confirmed.
Confirmed. I'm interested to see Evol in the mid lane on the Kestrel. We've seen him play a lot of Celeste in the mid lane. Kestrel a little bit different, also received a couple nerfs this patch on the base damage and the crystal ratio, so will be a little bit more difficult for Evol to effectively clear the lane, but still should have a pretty fair amount of damage in the team fights.
These teams effectively running an exactly mirrored strategy as far as invading and taking some jungle away. Now, Sibs potentially caught out here. Sibs taking a lot of damage. Sibs, you're in a bad place, and he's going to go down. Not the kind of thing you'd expect from a wizard.
Not the kind of thing you'd expect from a wizard, but he will be playing the Crystal Idris in the jungle, it appears, this time around. Obviously, last game with the Salamanders, we did see it go back into the lane, but we know that the Idris has been very popular in the jungle as well, so no need to buy that early Book of Eulogies. Can save you a little bit of money, can get your Divergent Path online a little bit sooner, and that can give you a little bit more impact. Plus, not being locked down to a specific lane, you can use that range and high chakra burst damage to make effective ranged ganks in the outer lanes.
Jason being annoying with that fish food, stopping the backs here from Benzo and BlueStacks. They will eventually be able to pour it out and pick up some items and move back into the lane. Once again, we do see Benzo picking up Minion Candy. Minion Candy, price reduced just a little bit here in 3.2.
Yeah, reduced a little bit. And I would say for a majority of the laners, if you're at all in a rough matchup where you think you're going to be pushed, pick up that minion candy. If it saves your turret, that little bit of gold was more than worth it.
Sibs with a healing flask. Will it be enough? No, it will not be. Sibs getting torn apart here in the early game.
Yeah, it has looked to be the case, and we saw Idris with a huge impact in the past couple weeks, but that's because he's been able to get ahead early on. Hasn't had that chance yet, but now with the 5 crystal bits, he has that divergent path online. This is where he can start to farm a little bit safer and as well kind of present himself to make those ganks, so we'll have to see if he's able to capitalize on that. In the top lane, we do have a little bit of an interesting matchup. So Louis Vuitton, obviously very tanky here on the Jewel, able to soak up a lot of damage that Drunami is going to be able to put out thanks to that heavy plating. But Drunami has that self-sustaining with the healing from the Imperial Sigil. I kind of feel like top lane is going to be a little bit of a stalemate until Jewel starts to get a couple items online.
Well, let's talk about Jewel as well in 3.2. The piercing on Thunderstrike. Well, actually, Starboy getting gone on. We'll hold that thought. He does have Afterburn. I don't think Rogue are going to accomplish too much down here. But the pierce on Thunderstrike going from 5 to 10% to start off and scaling, instead of 5 to 10, it's scaling 10 to 15. So I think that's actually a pretty big boost on that Jewel.
It definitely is a big boost, especially since Jewel's common build is going to be going very crit heavy. And now have
me with a little damage coming on through Rogue. If you're not able to get a kill, okay, they're able to get the kill. Jason moves in like he's going to take the crystal buff there. He'll give it over to Sibs, baiting Sibs a little bit. Louis Vuitton done with the Thunderstrike. Rocket Leap from into the bush there. He'll thwart the aggression onto the Crystal Treant there. There is a scout cam down. Noms, I don't know if Benzo and BlueStacks are really going to get in there and try to really play with fire here. Evil moves over. He's got that healing flask. He can zone with Glimmer Shot. This should go the way of Rogue.
Yeah, it definitely should go the way of Rogue. In fact, it is definitely going the way of Rogue. And now Louis Vuitton may be looking to rotate up. Haven't seen Drunami move in a while. Not sure what's going on there, so we'll have to see. But that's going to give Louis Vuitton, there he is. It's going to give Louis Vuitton the time to clean out some farms safely. He's a little bit ahead on experience and gold at this point. You see the 29 CS to the 20 of the Lyra. So Louis Vuitton might be starting to take that edge in that top lane that we thought was going to be a little bit of a stalemate.
Starboy having a rough time in the first 5 minutes of this game. His tier 1 turret is down. He was in a 2v1 situation, sometimes 3v1, and really not much this glaive could do on the back foot. What are the power spikes we're looking for this glaive?
For the glaive, he's probably going to go Poison Shiv, Breaking Point in his first couple items. It is a very sustainable build, but it doesn't provide a lot of early game aggression, so that is something to watch out for. Drunami is able to clear out his farm here up top, but sitting level down, Jewel has the big red button available. For Starboy, the idea is that he's going to be able to get in and misposition Evol or Jesus on the Samuel to make it so that they're now going to be positioned to that front line. The only melee hero for the side of Rogue is this Jewel, and if she's taking damage and is forced to turn around, that's when Hammers can really start to execute on that weakness of only having one frontline hero. Because Jason is Lorelei, he's a little bit ranged, it is going to be a little bit difficult for him to body block any sort of damage for the Jewel, and that's where Louis Vuitton is going to meet a little bit of a choice. If he's not at full health, some of these engagements may be a little bit difficult for him to make.
You used a lot of words there, but what I heard in different ways was this seems hard to execute for him.
It really does. It kind of relies on Starboy getting that initial afterburn and putting either Evol or Jesus or Sibs in a really bad situation where, again, these mages are building very, very heavily into the crystal damage and not going much into defense, at least early on. If you can position one of those mages in front of a Scarf, that's where BlueStacks is going to be able to excel and actually get some good damage down. Drunami, the Lyra, while it can have some decent individual damage, kind of struggles in the team fights later on.
Drunami, Arcane Passage is over the wall to try and contest the healing treant. Louis Vuitton down, still able to secure that up. though, swing and a miss on that one. Down at the bottom, Jesus trading with Starboy. Starboy starting to get a bit of an advantage there, but now the 3 versus 1 situation. Shotgun will connect. Healing Flask will come out. BlueStacks has made the rotation down. Benzo as well. Now Starboy's maybe going to look for a target. In fact, it feels like Rogue now in a vulnerable position. He's going to afterburn Sims away. What a good pal Starboy is. Trash talk off the mark. Get better, bud. And now Rogue want to chase back into this. It feels much more dangerous. You see the mortal wounds coming out on multiple targets there.
Yeah, it definitely does, and that's been a key item for a lot of mages in the most recent updates. See Hammers making a push down on this bottom objective, though.
Yeah, Starboy with that Sorrow Blade first means like he can just pump out some damage like that, but Rogue are not going to let this go down for free. They flex up Sibs, Jason, and Jesus down here, and that's really not something that Hammers want to mess with just yet. They'd rather pick someone off.
Right, and I do think it's a little bit interesting that Starboy has gone with the Sorrow Blade first. It does provide a lot more upfront damage than the common Poison Ship Breaking Point build, and I like it, but I don't think is favorable for Hammers is that Ghost Wing going over and now probably losing out on Benzo.
Benzo most likely going to go down. Look at the jukes, though. This guy going to the NFL next year, potentially. Juke him again! Can't juke the corrupted genius. You got played.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a second kill on the board for the side of Rogues. That's 2-2 now. But Rogue, they have taken down 2 turrets on the side of Hammers, and they are looking to push this mid lane into a third one if they can.
And look at the meantime, Drunami's been up in top lane for like 10 minutes. I know the game's only been going on for 9, but he finally takes that turret down after hammering on it for pretty much the whole duration of that last skirmish. In the meantime, Rogue tearing on through this T2 turret here in mid. And you see the damage from this Ghostwing buff. It's significant when they're all pumped up now. A little trash talk here in the mid lane. Benzo, Vanguard, onto BlueStacks. BlueStacks trying to apply some damage, but getting met with some glimmers coming right back the other way. Evil sitting in that active camo, trying to bait someone right back into it. I don't think they're going to fall for that too easily, though.
No, absolutely not. And if you're Hammers, you have to be cautious trying to chase down enemies. Even if one is low on health and you think you can come in and pick up that kill.
Papa John. He was trying to get something done, but the Rocket Leap in from Louis Vuitton dissuading the aggression there. Now he moves in. Thunderstrike going to town, showing him what 3.2 is all about. And not finding a kill there, but a big red button, a true red button coming on through from downtown. Not able to secure any kills. A lot of damage. There's the damage spread out across pretty much the entire team here. Let's see. Hammers, do you want to heal up? And the thing is, if they heal up as well, this turret's vulnerable. It's just going to get melted down. So they're going to hang around. The BlueStacks take a lot of damage. Defensive gauntlet comes down. Jesus will block it off. They turn around. They take 1. They take 2. Louis Vuitton Dong will hop onto his corpse, showing some bad manners, boosted manners. Starboy, show me what it's all about. Goes in for the afterburn, not able to secure the kill, now left in a vulnerable position. Ella giggled by the arcade passage. Drunami, a tsunami of no's for his team. Is Rogue able to take down 4? Probably take down the turret as well. I mean, they'll take whatever they want at this point.
Yeah, that fight started off not only at a handicap for the side of Hammers, they were down a player for a little bit there. They did exactly what I was trying to explain just before the fight broke out, was if you're chasing a target, no matter how low, you have to make sure you have vision so that your team does not walk into an active camo. Sure enough, we saw a big 2-person stun coming out of Evol, 560 damage spike coming through from the active camo, and that's just not something you want to set yourself in the position of if you are the side of Hammers, and they need to get some vision control. Benzo needs to get a flare gun as well as probably a super scout, realistically, if they don't want Evol to just have free reign over the game.
Jesus blocks the afterburn, trash talk off the mark. Oblivion comes out, but the Crucible from Benzo will block it off. Suddenly Rogue have flipped this around. They re-goose from the backside. Star Boy getting played with like a star toy. And now it's Arden left for dead here. 4 members of Rogue. Benzo can only walk. Oh no, he can run. Look at him. He's got some boots. And BlueStacks will go ahead and provide a little bit of cover as he gets himself out. But guess what? Ghost Wing is up, and Rogue are going to be happy to take this objective here.
Ghost Wing is up.
What? That was good.
Oh man, BlueStacks gets sniped out by Evil there as the side of Rogue. They go ahead and take that Ghost Wing. The whole time was Louis Vuitton up in the top lane. He's gone with a little bit of an alternative build, but he was able to push that top lane in, get an objective, and now they've started up the Black Claw. And with the Black Claw pushing mid and the remains of this Ghost Wing buff, they may be able to just close this one out here, you missed.
They can do whatever they want at this point. Hammers, it feels like food. Rogue happy to play with their food at this point. Tsunami just getting chunked down to sub 25% health from like one shot coming on through. Now Blackclaw marches on down the mid lane. Rogue doing whatever they want. They can play this a little bit slow, wait for an opening, using a big red button because, hey man, you got it. That's one of the things that, like, when you're playing like a weapon duel, you're just like, god damn it, I gotta use this occasionally. Oh, BlueStacks gets crit on down. Who's gonna be next? Looks like it's gonna be Benzo potentially on the splash damage coming on through. Rogue terrorizing Hammers. There's gonna be nightmares about this. Don't go to sleep tonight, Hammers fan. This is gonna be a rough one for you guys. Rogue look like they're gonna take this down in under 14 minutes. Just still have the healing platform. Do it. Evil getting knocked back. Papa John makes a good pizza, but not able to put it together against Rogue here today. As Rogue just pretty much put Hammers in the dumpster and shut the lid.
Yeah, they absolutely did. At all points of this game, it felt like Rogue made the better rotations and had the better positioning in team fights. And time after time, we saw Evil get multiple members of the Hammers stunned up on an active camo and basically obliterated them off of Sovereign's Rise in a matter of a second.
Matter of seconds, man. This game is almost shorter than the draft nominee. I mean, we could sit here, we could break down how Rogue just terrorized the Hammers, but that was pretty exciting, and there's more qualified gentlemen as well. So with that, let's go ahead and throw it over to the analyst desk. Guys, break this one down for us.
Thank you very much, Humanist. You and Denomine, excellent as always. But that game, I mean, I think first thing that jumped out to me, Rogue, Evol, playing something other than Celeste. We've been talking about, will he be able to perform on something other than Celeste? It's a definitive yes.
Little shaky last week. Evol stepping it up in big ways this week. Unkillable in this last game. His catcher looks so good. He was constantly in the right spots, laying down the right active camos at the right time, positioning well in this backline, making sure all these tanky heroes on the side of Hammers weren't able to catch him out of position. It was so important. The glimmer shots were all on point. Rogue executing so well with this Black Claw. Their macro was so much better, making sure that they took Ghost Wing, they went into Black Claw. They absolutely did it super well, and definitely very important for their victory here today.
Yeah, really strong showing, and unfortunately on the other side, Hammers still going to be looking for that first victory in the preseason. Unfortunately, things just are not clicking for them. They aren't able to, find the fights when they need them the most.
Yeah, absolutely not. Great series out of everyone today. Queso, Salty Potatoes forfeiting the Queso earlier today. Clash, another victory to extend their lead to 5-0. Rising Lotus over Wolves, and on the other side of North America, TSM picking up a win, Nova picking up a win, and Rogue evening things out at 2-2 now.
Yeah, the records there for Nova and Slimy Salamanders a little bit flopped, but either way, talking about that matchup, Maleen. We finally got to see Maleen come out, starting all over. Very confident, best Maleen world. That's the best professional performance I have ever seen on Maleen.
That is a statistical fact. No one can argue against it because he is the only Maleen player in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, seriously, no. All that jokes aside, he did look very good on Maleen today.
And I'm being told that our production crew has put together what they feel like is their favorite moment from today. Let's take a look. Kestrel going to be that first ban. Of course, not banning Maleen on A side. You don't want to do that because you've our sure opponents. No Maleen ban! We got a Maleen pick!
We got a Maleen!
A little bit rough for some of these teams to try to go against the Maleen. Whoa, good pick from starting there.
Picked him like a booger. Now looking to put a little sugar on top of that mix sheet. Getting
Apparently our production crew just as excited about Malene as myself and Humanist are. And now we're going to be going to our stat of the day. The magic number is going to be 3. It was that Malene play from starting all over. 3 because he was the highest kills in the match, highest gold in the match, and highest CS in the match. All 3 stats going over to starting all over on the Malene. That was what was ruled as the stat of the day. I wanted something else. I got overruled. I'm going to say it anyway because I'm the host. I get to do that. It was Leon earlier in the day. 14 kills in 14 minutes. That is a new Vainglory Premier League record for the most kills in a single game. Previously it was 11 and 10, but those were done in 31-minute and 26-minute games. 14 kills in 14 minutes.
Absolutely beautiful. Playing against the lower team in the European rankings. Looking ahead to tomorrow, though, Leon has a big task ahead. Starting things off against Queso. That's going to be an absolute bloodbath. Equinox and Wolves battle of the bottom there, and Rising Lotus taking on Salted Potatoes. Hopefully they can find a full roster in that matchup tomorrow. Tribe, not playing today, going to be back tomorrow, taking on Tilt Rehab. TSM taking on Slimy Salamanders, and Vision Gaming taking on Rogue.
That's going to be it tomorrow, and that does it for us here today. We're going to give a congratulations to Dark SP Starmon, the winner of our second Malene giveaway this weekend. There's 2 more chances to win. Make sure you tune in tomorrow to not only get your chance at a free Malene unlock, but also to catch all of the Vainglory Premier League preseason action. We'll see you then.